Apocalypse begins by collecting S.S.S level cards. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Horrible Sunflower. Qin Lang reacted quickly and jumped towards the rear, immediately opening the distance between them. However, the two sunflower monsters showed no signs of attack. They just slowly looked at him and made an sound from their suddenly torn mouths. Is it a split? No, if it is a split, their combat power will not all be 19,000. There will definitely be varying degrees of combat power loss. Qin Lang tried hard to think of countermeasures. Since the opponent could split, he did not dare to take action rashly for a while. If it split into 4, it would be really difficult. R2. Sunflower monsters opened their mouths and walked slowly towards Qin Lang. If you can't kill, then you can only control it first. Having made up his mind, Qin Lang took out another rice mushroom and threw it away. Just hearing a bang, the moment the ice mushroom shattered, the two sunflower monsters suddenly accelerated and hid to the left and right sides, perfectly avoiding the area covered by the ice mushroom. Isn't it pretty fast? Qin Lang sacrificed the flying sword Eternal Burning and let it hover around his body, his eyes firmly locked on the two sunflower monsters. Something that made Qin Lang very puzzled happened again. They didn't attack at all. Apart from shouting at him, they just looked at him with silly gestures. Would you like to try attacking again? Qin Lang thought for a moment and decided to strike first. This sunflower monster was so strange that it made him feel scared. As he thought, Qin Lang flew out of Eternal Burning and the flying sword penetrated the head of the sunflower monster on the left with a rolling heat wave. The sunflower monster screamed and immediately turned into ashes, but in the next moment, the ashes seemed to be alive, squirming and splitting into two groups, and then condensed into two brand new sunflower monsters at an extremely fast speed. The situation on the scene instantly became 1 vs 3. Sure enough, it has some kind of divisive properties. Qin Lang had a headache when he was thinking about how to deal with them. Lin Wayne suddenly let out her exclamation. Be careful behind you. Qin Lang turned around suddenly and then he realized that there was a thick fog behind him and two sunflower monsters appeared in the fog. 5 identical sunflowers, each with a combat power of 19,000. His Qin Lang took a breath. Why don't we retreat today? Let's study their weaknesses and then attack them. Qin Lang is not that kind of person, but he is definitely not a brainless man. Seeing that the opponent is difficult to deal with, the first thing that comes to mind is of course a tactical retreat. It's just that he thought of these sunflower monsters a little too simply. When the 5 sunflowers saw that he was about to run away, their eyes began to condense with red light. About to attack. 5 red lights shot towards Qin Lang. Qin Lang hurriedly dodged to one side, and the sound of explosions came one after another behind him. When he stood completely, he looked at the place where he had been before. The cold air rushed from the soles of his feet to his forehead, and he saw that the ground was full of pits exploded by red light, as if he had encountered a carpet bombing. Explosive ray. Qin Lang recalled that there was a strong man in his previous life who had the same skill. He could shoot explosive rays from his eyes. As long as he had enough physical strength, he could easily destroy a large group of corpses by himself. But it's useless to know this. I can't do anything to them. If I kill them, they will split. This is what really bothers Qin Lang. While he was thinking hard, the second round of explosive rays struck again. Qin Lang relied on his flexible skills to perfectly avoid this round of attacks. Since we can't kill them, then can we temporarily make them lose their combat effectiveness? This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 101. The Horrible Sunflower. Qin Lang's eyes lit up and he quickly rushed towards the two sunflowers behind him. He came close in the blink of an eye. The sunflowers let out a dull sound and the next second they were chopped by more than a dozen dark tentacles that turned into steel knives. Its legs and feet were cut off instantly, leaving only its head and upper body. It fell in ashes and screamed at her ashes are moving. Oh no, it won't work without killing it. Can its limbs be split? Qin Lang screamed in his heart. At this time, the 3 sunflowers behind him launched explosive rays at the same time. Qin Lang jumped subconsciously. He regretted it while his body was still in midair because he found that the target of the attack of the 3 sunflowers was not him at all, but the target. Cut into seriously injured sunflower. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions come and go. Smoke rose and filled the entire battlefield. Diddy. The combat power detector began to show a large number of numbers, which was uniformly 19,000. Broken. Qin Lang's heart tightened, and his pupils shrank violently. 8 sunflowers appeared in the thick fog. There were a total of 11 sunflowers on site. I'm going to beat your mother. Qin Lang turned around and ran away without even thinking. The 11 sunflowers looked at each other, bent down at the same time, assumed the same running posture, and then rushed towards Qin Lang with a large piece of dust. Fuck. Qin Lang glanced behind him and broke into a cold sweat on the spot. It turns out that this thing is not only good at long range attacks, but also quite ridiculous in terms of movement. Go. Can't beat it. Qin Lang yelled and threw several ice mushrooms, slowing down the sunflowers to the greatest extent. He came to the high ground, dragged the 3 women, and rushed back to the car, and fled the scene without looking back. Inside the car. Fortunately, I didn't catch up. Qin Lang glanced in the rearview mirror to make sure that the other party was not chasing him, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. We can only go back and think of a way first. We really can't beat him by force. Qin Lang touched a cigarette and started smoking. He found that Lin Wana's face looked a little strange. What's wrong, Lin? Wana slowly opened her mouth. Ah. Chen Zhu said on the side. Ah. Fuck. Qin Lang exclaimed and sat up in cold sweat. Everything around has changed. The weather is still so hot. Lin Wana looked worried and asked, Qin Lang, how are you? What happened to you? Why did you suddenly faint when you were fine? I passed out? Where is this? Qin Lang pressed his temples. It turned out that he was just dreaming, but the dream was too real. We are near the apostles. You asked us to wait where we were, and you went to test them. You fainted just after saying these words, but you scared us. Qin Lang turned around and looked, and there was indeed a slow-moving sunflower monster below. No. Qin Lang shook his head vigorously. There must be something wrong somewhere. I tried my best to prevent it, but I still couldn't prevent it. I must be mentally controlled. But, how did it do it? Is it the spiritual world or reality at the moment? Correct. Qin Lang suddenly thought that there was a kind of mushroom in his storage space, called the severe pain mushroom, which would cause severe pain after eating, making people miserable. Pain is the antidote to mental attacks. Qin Lang pulled out the colorful pain mushroom and took a hard bite. Pain. The heartbreaking pain made a strong-willed person like Qin Lang unable to help but scream. At the same time, all the scenes in front of him began to distort. Chapter 102 Black Shadow. Wana, I'm fine now. Go to sleep. Qin Lang felt warm in his heart and felt sorry for Lin Wana. After all, from the beginning, he treated Lin Wana as a tool that could be abandoned at any time. It was difficult for him to abandon her now. You're still telling me that you and Yanzi slept together? Lin Wana burst into laughter. Stop fighting. Qin Lang laughed, and the dark tentacles wrapped the 3 women's bodies and tied them to him. Don't think about anything now. Let's sleep together. The next morning. An Cottage Hall. Boss. Damn it, you're awake. Leo Li jumped up from his chair and screamed. Qin Lang smiled and said, as for making such a fuss, it's just that I slept a little too long. It's been 4 days, brother. If my sister-in-law hadn't stopped me, I really wanted to rush in and see if you were alive. I don't care. I have to go with you, no matter what you say next time. It's so frustrating. Boss is awake. Hearing the noise outside, Zhu Yun walked out with Ding Yuan in his arms, smiling all over his face. What did I say? The boss must be fine. Qin Lang nodded. By the way, has anything happened to the shelter during the past few days, since I was in coma? It's nothing. It's just that there was a fire rain the day before yesterday, and several small waves of corpses came nearby. They have been dealt with by Yan Bin and ZHU Chen K. No one was injured, and no one died. Leo Li replied. Okay, Yanbin and ZHU Chinke can focus on training. Lin Mo, and Wu Fa and Wu Shan. These three are old brothers who have been with us since the morning. Let's talk about their combat power. As for the brothers, brought here by Leo Zhu, the combat power should be raised to about 3000. I will send the card to you later. Let me first thank the boss on behalf of the brothers. Zhu Yun nodded heavily. Shelter U003 CBR /U003E. Everything was just as Leo Li said. There was no damage to the entire base. The only difference was that there was no longer a fourth level in the shelter. A swimming pool was built in that area to escape the heat, and the original students returned to the main force. Boss, Yan Bin and ZHU Chinke hurriedly stood up and saluted. Well, Leo Li told me about your affairs, and this is a reward for you. Qin Lang was in a good mood, and threw out 7 or 8 gold cards casually. There are awards for merit and punishment for demerits. Only by clear awards and punishments can it last for a long time. From now on, you can move freely and lead a team to go hunting without reporting to anyone. Yanbin clasped his fists fiercely and said, "Thank you, boss. I'm in a good mood today. I conquered the second apostle and my hidden combat power has improved a lot. I'll give you a little extra tonight." Qin Lang has never been a stingy person, especially in the third stage of the end of the world. The resources that should be accumulated have been accumulated long ago and cannot be spent all. The next thing to do is to continuously improve the combat effectiveness of existing channels. Long live the boss. Long live. At night, the shelter was filled with laughter, and it looked like a carnival party. The danger often comes after a carnival. At this time, no one noticed at all that a dozen black shadows had invaded the outskirts of the shelter under the vast darkness. Their steps were light and they did not even trigger the monitoring mushroom. Boss, we found a shelter. The number of survivors is around 100. We visually inspected the strength. Average combat strength is 2000 and the maximum combat strength is 5000. We are waiting for instructions from the headquarters. The man in black took out the walkie-talkie and said, "Zizzy, the same old way, destroy it." Z received it. The men in black nodded to their companions, took out the weapons from their waists, and jumped onto the stone wall of the shelter. Chapter 103, Fortress and White Hair. The leader of the man in black snorted impatiently, clenched his right fist, covered the dagger with black fire, and swayed his body behind ZHU Chinke. Not good. ZHU Chinke, who sensed the danger, tried to dodge, but the opponent's speed was far faster than him, and the black fire-filled dagger stabbed directly into his right eye. Amid the screams, ZHU Chinke's body quickly turned black with his injured right eye as the center, and soon turned into a black stone sculpture. Zao. ZHU, Yan Bin exclaimed, "Stop screaming. Anyone who is hit by my Medusa's kiss will definitely die. You will go down to accompany him immediately." The leader of the man in black laughed and rushed towards Yanbin. "Boss, save me." Yanbin knew he was defeated and roared. Inside the in-cabin. Qin Lang lay on Lin Wan's smooth and white thighs and watched the movie leisurely. The fat cat Zhao Hei was dozing on the bedside but suddenly stood up due to some unknown stimulus. His hair became fluffy and he began to purr loudly. Qin Lang turned over and sat up. He could understand Zhao Hei's cat language. "There is an enemy attack. Strange. I have placed a mushroom array outside the shelter. Why is it not triggered?" Qin Lang frowned and called up the surveillance video from the outside world. It was okay not to watch it. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Everyone outside N's cabin was being unilaterally massacred by a group of men in black. This group of people kills extremely fast, and those soldiers and students who haven't had time to strengthen their cards are like bugs in front of them, being easily crushed to death with no room for resistance. The few strengthened brothers Lin Mo, Wu Fa, Wu Shan and Yanbin could not stand the siege of these dozen people. Qin Lang watched helplessly as they were turned into stone sculptures with a burning black dagger. /U003 CBR /U003E. Qin Lang's face was as dark as water, and a stern killing intent was released, making the three women behind him shudder. Outside the safe house. "Boss, the shelter has been cleared, but I suspect there are still people in this house, but the combat power detector cannot detect the house," the leader of the men in black said to the intercom. "We are already on the way. Don't act rashly. The house in front of you is called the Safe House. It is a colorful card level building that cannot be broken by violence. A round vehicle that is so huge that it looks like an ancient beast, with a clacking sound on the tracks, slowly drives through the ruins. If it encounters monsters along the way, it will either rush straight into them and crush them into powder, or open the hidden gun hole, and a heavy machine gun will extend from it to smash them. This thing can no longer be described as a vehicle, it is like a mobile war fortress. The interior of the fortress is very spacious and bright. A middle-aged man with white hair sat in the main control room, with a faint smile on his face. Thank you, Wang Mang, for telling me the location of this shelter. Wang Mang stared blankly ahead with his eyes wide open. He couldn't speak after all. At this moment, he was just ahead in a container. There were more than a dozen containers around who had the same treatment as Wang Mang, and the head in each container was a shelter boss. More than 10 minutes later, the war fortress smashed the stone wall and came to a group of black-clothed men. The white-haired man, wearing a black windbreaker, walked out of the war fortress with the help of a pair of hot and sexy twins. He smiled at the monitor and said, "Don't hide. I know you are in there. Come out and talk. If your combat power is high enough, I can spare your life. There are still many places in my fortress." Chapter 104, Deep Nightmare. Inside the inn cabin, facing the white-haired man's shouting, except for Qin Lang, who remained expressionless, everyone else showed their anger to the greatest extent. "Boss." Laoli clenched his fists tightly. "Did you meet the White Devil so early?" Qin Lang murmured to himself. When he saw the opponent's war fortress with the license plate F8656Z, Qin Lang already knew who the person on the opposite side was. White Devil. In his previous life, he was definitely a terrifying existence. Not only because they possess absolute strength, but the most terrifying thing is that they never follow any rules. Sneak attacks, assassinations, and breaches of contracts have destroyed the sanctuaries in their hands like the sands of the Ganges. They are countless. The White Devil himself grew rapidly after plundering the resources of these sanctuaries and became a strong man standing at the top of the apocalyptic pyramid, ranking 67th on the god list. Don't say you haven't grown up yet. Even the White Devil in your previous life will have to die for me. Qin Lang took a deep breath and walked out of N's cabin. The White Devil sat on the top of the war fortress in a rather exaggerated posture, holding a thick cigar in his right hand. He smiled and looked at the few people who came out. "Oh, hello." His eyes swept over the piles of corpses, looking at the faces that he had been with day and night, but now could no longer speak or smile. Qin Lang's anger reached its peak at this moment. "Boss." The leader of the men in black took a deep breath. "Of these guys, the lowest one actually has 0 combat power, and the leader is 14. He's taller than you." The White Devil was startled. "Huh? He has such a high combat power." After a pause, he exhaled smoke. "Don't be nervous. The combat power can only be used as a reference. It's not like we have never killed thousands of people." "Kill." Qin Lang only said one word, and Zhu Yun and Laoli, who could no longer hold back, roared and rushed forward. A body that was still in the air turned into a giant bear. The mountain-like body crashed down, and Laoli had a spear in his hand. A hissing sound broke through the air and penetrated several men in black. Under the absolute combat power, the men in black responsible for the assassination were as weak as the group of students who refused to rest in peace. When the leader of the men in black realized that his opponent was a real strong man, it was too late to escape. A lizard man covered in scales jumped in front of him and bit off half of his head. Shah's Kiss legendary dagger has no effect on the lizardman. So strong. The White Devil's smile was frozen, and he had an ominous premonition. Each of these black-clad assassination teams has a combat power of 3000 to 5000, and they are all in a frontal chain. Logically speaking, they will not be wiped out so easily. One Zan will also be surrounded and killed by them. Since this kind of thing will happen, this situation can only explain one problem. In the group of people in front of you, there is not a single parallel import. They are all genuine strong men. Retreat. First, the White Devil groaned and patted the top cover. Hearing this, the men in the cockpit hurriedly turned the car around. But Qin Lang must be watching them. How could he let them escape so easily? Blow it up. Qin Lang raised his hand and there was a dazzling golden light. The tracks shrouded in light were interrupted, and even the extremely hard fortress protective plate was dented. The power of the holy slash is evident. Kill my people. Qin Lang roared, and rushed to the fortress, and the flying sword penetrated the entrance with a click. Behind him was Zhu Yun, who transformed into a giant bear. He slapped the car body wildly with his huge claws, and a huge dent appeared in the car body every time he hit it hard. Bullets shot out from the war fortress, and large wounds immediately appeared on Zhu Yun's body. The next moment, a holy light bloomed from his body, and the wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. This chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 104. Deep Nightmare Boss. Our tracks are broken, the car can't drive, and the guns are useless against them. They will attack soon. What should we do? The driver was a little worried. The white devil's cheeks trembled, and he said fiercely, this time I really hit the wall. But, do you really fucking think that I'm a vegetarian? Since you can't run away, then fight. The ferocity in the white devil's bones was aroused at this moment. Seeing this, the two twins quickly blessed him with various auxiliary halos. Boom. The 100-pound top cover was lifted off, and the white devil jumped out. Caught. Death. The white devil roared angrily, and his right fist was wrapped with a large ray of light and struck towards Qin Language. But in the next second, the white devil was stunned. He found himself in a cell surrounded by prisoners wearing blue and white prison uniforms. The white devil was confused for a moment. It was clear that the end of the world was coming, and he had already escaped and had a strong team. Why was he back in prison in the blink of an eye? Could it be that what happened before was just a figment of imagination? Go in. Your bed is at the end. The prison guard pointed to the corner bunk. The white devil lowered his head and found that he was holding a pile of daily toiletries in his hand, and the 7 or 8 prisoners in the cell were looking at him with strange eyes. The white devil shook his head vigorously and silently came to the bed to put down his daily necessities. Crack. As the iron door closed, the prisoners who had been standing upright a second ago immediately relaxed and gathered around him with evil smiles. I heard that you raped a little girl. The man with a scar on his forehead smiled evilly and threw her into a cesspool and drowned her. I didn't. The white devil swallowed his saliva. He was afraid of this scar from the bottom of his heart. No? Damn it. You're still stubborn even at this point. Scar. Punch the white devil more than a dozen times, and the white devil's face was covered with blood. Brothers, the boss said that we should treat beasts with beastly methods. Let's go together and make him feel good. Ha ha ha. Okay, we must make him feel good to the sky. Although this kid is cold-blooded, I believe he must have a warm heart. Ahahaha. 7 or 8 prisoners came up with their trouser waists, and the crowd drowned the white devil. Soon, the white devil screamed miserably. No, on. The war fortress. Qin Lang silently retracted his palm. The white demon facing he had already dull eyes, stiff body, and blood stained the whole pants. I'm so sorry, I just mastered the fantasy world, and I'm not very proficient in using this ability. I use too much force. The mental torture you are experiencing now is called Deep Nightmare. It is the most terrifying event you have ever encountered. It has been magnified tenfold, and the time has been extended indefinitely. Qin Lang used a mental attack for the first time. He didn't control the strength well. At this time, his brain felt a slight tingling sensation. He gestured to Zhu Yun, who immediately used his claws to tear open the entrance of the war fortress and pulled out the twins, the driver, and 4 other logistics personnel who had no combat ability. Please, don't kill us. We are willing to serve you. We are very good at kung fu. The twins were trembling with fear and knelt down to beg for mercy. And we all have halo skills. We can assist you. Assist. Your mother X. Kill me, Qin Lang cursed, raised his sword and directly chopped the 8 people. Chapter 105. Professional Lone Ranger. An cabin. Backyard. This is the first time Qin Lang brings someone in. That's what I know. The core of the nest. Everyone stared at the huge tree-like plant in a daze. Zao. He was also hatched from the core of this nest. After Qin Lang gave a brief explanation, he took out the corpses one by one from the space ring and threw them as nutrients to the core of the nest. Now the space ring has become Qin Lang's special ring for moving corpses. After a few minutes of mechanical transportation, a large number of corpses were piled up in the corner. When Qin Lang took out a new corpse and looked at the familiar face of the corpse, he couldn't help but sigh heavily. Lin Mo, a college student who doesn't talk much, has almost no presence in the team. Qin Lang, they too. Lin Wano couldn't stand it anymore. They are all dead. Rather than burying them in the ground, it is better to feed them to the core of the nest. Qin Lang replied lightly, and after he finished carrying all the corpses, he looked at the white devil who was brought in by Zhu Yun's neck. From a biological point of view, the white devil is not dead, but his pupils have long been dilated, and his soul has been extinguished. Qin Lang didn't know that the white devil actually spent decades in the deep nightmare. In fact, in the 6th month after entering the deep nightmare, the white devil went completely crazy. The following hours were pure physical torture. Qin Lang nodded, and Zhu Yun pushed the white devil to the core of the lair. The core of the nest that was eating suddenly stopped for a moment, as if it had discovered something delicious. Countless black tentacles slowly wrapped around the white devil, and then began to absorb it crazily. In just a few minutes, the white devil turned into a pile of bones. It turns out that feeding living people with high combat power can speed up the growth of the core of the nest. It's a pity. It makes no difference whether you know this information or not. Where can I find so many living people with high combat power? Qin Lang sighed and asked everyone to leave the backyard. Returning to the door of N's cabin, everyone felt very depressed looking at the empty and lifeless shelter. Although they don't particularly care about the death of these people, they have always enjoyed this lively group life. Suddenly they become alone. This gap makes people very uncomfortable. As Qin Lang said, the difference between reality and reality is that it pays attention to inheritance and transfer, but reality has no foreshadowing. Especially in this cruel end of the world, friends who are chatting happily one second may be killed the next second. When the core of the nest matures for the second time, we will grow vines. After Qin Lang finished speaking, he turned around and entered the house. Several people looked at me, and I looked at you, and they all sighed. The 3rd week after the white devil's sneak attack. The temperature outside reached a terrifying 47 degrees. At this temperature, not to mention humans, even the earth was baked with cracks, and the huge city turned into a barren ruin. Compared with the desolation of the outside world, the inside of N's house is like a paradise. Qin Lang cut open a deformed monster that had just been born from the core of the nest and found a shiny card from its head. At first, Qin Lang thought it was a gold card, but when he took it carefully in his hand, he realized that it was not a gold card. It was clearly an extremely rare bright gold card. It turns out that there has been bright gold since the 3rd stage of the end of the world. Qin Lang forced himself to calm down. Carefully opened the card. Occupation, Lone Ranger. Bright gold professional card. Qin Lang exclaimed, even not believing his eyes. This luck is so incredible. I got a professional card in one shot. Occupation, Lone Ranger. When there are no teammates around you, your various indicators will increase by 100. The fewer words, the stronger the card. This is an unwritten rule from the past life. This is a T05 bright gold in the lone wolf profession. Although Qin Lang's strength in his previous life was low, he still knew a lot in terms of knowledge. Some people with special access collected a large amount of information about the end of the world and compiled it into books. Qin Lang had read a lot. The strongest profession among the lone wolf professions is undoubtedly the autistic patient. It is said that this profession can improve various indicators by 150 to 200. The biggest disadvantage is that it only takes effect when fighting monsters. The more similar humans around you, the greater the effect. Difference. From this point of view, Qin Lang, a lone ranger, is not bad. At least it can be effective against the enemy. I'm used to fighting in a group, so it's a bit difficult for me to be a lone ranger. But who wouldn't like the icing on the cake? Especially this is a bright gold card. Qin Lang was in a happy mood. He tore the card directly and learned from the Lone Ranger. Then he took out the flying sword Yangren and took out the core of the nest. Since he is leaving here to go to Changvin soon and he doesn't even want the anhut, he naturally won't keep the core of the nest. There is a total of 1 dark gold card, 3 color cards, and the rest are gold cards in the core of the lair. The dark gold card is a longbow weapon, Daybreak, which no one in the team can use at present, while the color card is a vehicle and 2 pieces of food. As for the gold card, Qin Lang doesn't even take a look at it now. What? Did I hear you correctly? Do you want to go to the mushroom cave alone? Leoli exclaimed exaggeratedly. Linwana also hurriedly stopped. How can this be done? That monster has a fighting strength of 60,000. Aren't you going to die? Qin Lang smiled and said confidently, what are you all thinking? I'm alive and well. Why would I want to die? I just want to see if I can fight with this level of creatures in my current situation. Don't worry, you know how much I cherish my life. This time, I will only bring Zhao Hei and Xie. You wait for me in the cabin. I will keep in touch with you through spiritual communication at any time. But, Sun Yan hesitated. Qin Lang raised his hand and touched her head. Don't worry, I will be back soon. After saying that, he took a cat and a mushroom and rode a motorcycle to the mushroom cave without waiting for everyone to persuade him. It considered a lone ranger if you are 10 kilometers away from your teammates. Qin Lang silently calculated the distance and nodded. At this moment, he could feel that the cells in his body were extremely active, and he had endless strength from head to toe. This is also the main reason why he dared to challenge the 6-power creature in the mushroom cave. His own combat power reached 3 under the blessing of the Lone Ranger, and he also had the Apostle Curse that was not calculated into the combat power. According to this estimate, after activating the Lone Ranger profession, his real combat power should be between 4 and 5. After a few hours of racing, Qin Lang slid down into the mushroom cave along the original path. Wu Qzi returned to his hometown, excited with tears in his eyes, jumping and jumping. Anzarao, backyard. This is the first time Qin Lang brought people in. That's it, I know. The core of the nest, everyone stared at the huge tree-like plant in a daze. Zhao Hei was also hatched from the core of this nest. After Qin Lang explained briefly, he took out the corpses from the space ring and threw them into the core of the nest as nutrients. Now the space ring has long become Qin Lang's special ring for moving corpses. After a few minutes of mechanical transportation, a large number of corpses were piled up in the corner. When Qin Lang took out a new corpse, he looked at the familiar face of the corpse and couldn't help but sighed heavily. Lin Mo, this college student who doesn't talk much, has almost no presence in the team. Qin Lang, they also. Lin Wana couldn't stand it anymore. They are dead. It's better to feed them to the core of the nest than to bury them. Qin Lang replied indifferently. After he had moved all the corpses, he looked at the white devil who was brought in by Zhu Yun with his neck pinched. From a biological point of view, the white devil was not dead, but his pupils had long been dilated, and his soul was extinguished. Qin Lang did not know that the white devil had actually spent decades in the deep nightmare. In fact, in the 6th month of entering the deep nightmare, the white devil went completely crazy, and the following time was pure physical torture. Qin Lang nodded, and Zhu Yun pushed the white devil to the core of the nest. The core of the nest, which was eating, suddenly stopped for a while, as if it had found something delicious. Countless black tentacles slowly wrapped around the white devil, and then began to absorb frantically. In just a few minutes, the white devil turned into a pile of bones. It turns out that feeding living people with high combat power can accelerate the growth rate of the core of the nest. It's a pity that there is no difference between knowing this information and not knowing it. Where can I find so many living people with high combat power? Qin Lang sighed and asked everyone to leave the backyard. Back at the door of Anzarao, everyone was in a low mood looking at the empty and lifeless shelter. Although they didn't particularly care about the death of these people, they had always enjoyed this lively group life. Suddenly they became lonely. This gap made people very uncomfortable. As Qin Lang said, the difference between reality and reality is that reality pays attention to the beginning, development, transition and ending, but reality has no preparation, especially in this cruel doomsday. Friends who were happily chatting in the previous second may be killed in the next second. When the core of the nest matures for the 2nd time, we will go to Changting. Qin Lang said and turned to go into the house. Several people looked at each other and sighed. The 3rd week after the white devil's sneak attack. The temperature outside reached a terrifying 47 degrees. At this temperature, not to mention humans, even the earth was burned out of cracks, and the huge city turned into a desolate ruin point compared to the desolation of the outside world. And Xiao was like a paradise point. Qin Lang cut open a deformed monster that had just been bred by the core of the nest and found a shiny card in its head. At first, Qin Lang thought it was a gold card, but when he took it carefully in his hand, he found that this was not a gold card at all, but an extremely rare bright gold card. It turns out that there has been bright gold since the third stage of the apocalypse. Qin Lang forced himself to calm down and carefully opened the card. Profession Lone Ranger bright gold profession card. Qin Lang exclaimed, even a little bit unable to believe his eyes. This luck is too good. He actually got a career card in one shot. Profession Lone Ranger. When there are no teammates around, your various indicators increase by 100 point. The fewer words, the stronger the card. This is the unwritten rule in the previous life. This is a T05 bright gold in the lone wolf profession in the previous life. Although Qin Lang's strength was the last, he knew a lot of knowledge. Some people with special channels collected a lot of information about the end of the world and compiled them into books. Qin Lang has read a lot. The strongest profession among the lone wolf professions is the autistic person. It is said that this profession can improve various indicators by 150200. The biggest disadvantage is that it only works when fighting monsters. The more human beings around, the worse the effect. From this perspective, Qin Lang, the Lone Ranger, is not bad. At least it can work against the enemy. I am used to fighting in groups. It is a bit difficult for me to be a Lone Ranger again, but who can not like something that adds icing on the cake? Especially this is a bright gold card. Qin Lang was in a good mood and tore open the card directly to learn the Lone Ranger. Then he took out the flying sword Yangren and took out the core of the nest point. Since he was about to leave here for Changteng, he didn't even want the inn hut, so he naturally wouldn't keep the core of the nest. There is a dark gold card, 3 color cards, and the rest are gold cards in the core of the nest. The dark gold card is a weapon longbow dawn, which no one in the team can use at present. The color card is a vehicle and 2 food. As for the gold card, Qin Lang doesn't even look at it now. What? Did I hear you right? You want to go to the mushroom cave alone? Oldly exclaimed in exaggeration. Lin Wana also hurriedly stopped him. How can this be? That monster has a combat power of 60,000. Wouldn't you go there to die? Qin Lang smiled and said confidently, what are you all thinking? I'm alive and well. Why should I die? I just want to see if I can fight with this level of creatures in my current situation. Don't worry, you know how much I cherish my life. This time, I will only bring Zio Hei and Qzai. You wait for me in the cabin. I will keep in touch with you through spiritual communication at any time. But Sun Yan hesitated. Qin Lang raised his hand and touched her head. Don't worry, I will be back soon. After saying that, he took a cat and a mushroom and rode a motorcycle to the mushroom cave without waiting for others to persuade him. Is it considered a Lone Ranger if you are 10 kilometers away from your teammates? Qin Lang silently calculated the distance and nodded. At this moment, he could feel that all the cells in his body were extremely active, and he had endless energy from head to toe. This was the main reason why he dared to challenge the 6-power creature in the mushroom cave. His own combat power reached 3 with the blessing of the Lone Ranger, and he also had the apostle curse that was not calculated into the combat power. According to this estimate, after activating the Lone Ranger profession, his real combat power should be between 4 and 5. After a few hours of racing, Qin Lang slid down into the mushroom cave along the original path. Woo. Qzai returned to his hometown, excited with tears in his eyes, jumping and jumping. Chapter 106. Big Head. Shootout. It hurts so much. Cold sweat broke out on Qin Lang's forehead, and he retreated to defend himself from the attack of his claws, while continuing to attack. A new value suddenly appeared on the combat power detector, which made Qin Lang stunned for a moment. At the end of the arm that extended into the depths of darkness, a presence with a combat power of up to 80,000 appeared. Did it attract a second terrifying creature, or is this just a terrifying creature, but its combat power is calculated separately? Qin Lang stopped thinking about what he couldn't understand, turned around and ran, rushing out for several kilometers in one breath. far beyond the attack range of his claws. After making sure that the other party had not caught up, Qin Lang sat down on the ground and gasped. After resting for more than half an hour, and after all the wounds on his body had healed, Qin Lang made himself a large portion of barbecue to ensure that his physical strength was at its peak, and then he went back to kill again. The exact same plot played out again. The only difference was that this time Qin Lang had experienced and dispersed the touch of darkness in advance to avoid being caught by his claws. When the more than 8 combat power indicators appeared again, Qin Lang greased the soles of his feet. Gone again. If I can keep fighting it like this, maybe 2 more times, my claws will be cut off by me. Why does it feel a bit stuck? Qin Lang tore off a large piece of lamb from the roasted lamb leg and chewed it. The higher the combat power, the higher the requirements for food. For example, he can only eat food of gold level and above. The satiety effect of the following food is completely negligible, let alone the recovery effect. Crash. Qin Lang was eating here. Qze and Xiao, who had been running away since the beginning of the war, rushed back. Qze took out a lot of colorful and strange mushrooms from his belly pocket. This is Qin Lang was a little stunned. He picked up a few of them and looked at them with surprise and said, "Is this a dramatic mushroom? A poisonous mushroom? This is a giant mushroom? Where did you get it from?" Xiao meowed a few times and told Qin Lang that these mushrooms were dug by Qze from under some large mushrooms nearby. These advanced mushroom resources may have to wait until I upgrade the mushroom herder path before they can be planted. They are all good things. Qin Lang was in a good mood. He rubbed Qze's elastic umbrella cap vigorously and did not forget to say, "Qze went to dig mushrooms for me. Where did you go?" Xiao stopped combing his hair and tilted his head and said, "I'm just a useless kitten who is a few months old." Haha. Qin Lang responded with a sneer. After a short rest, Qin Lang rushed back to the depths to fight with the claws again. With the help of the advanced mushrooms, Qin Lang really cut off his arm. The arm connected to the claws alone almost filled the entire space ring point, and this time, Qin Lang also saw what the existence of 80,000 combat power was. It was a head connected to an arm. In fact, this monster only had one head and one arm. 2 huge white eyeballs grew abruptly on the round, scarred head, and the eyeballs were full of bloodshot. It rammed the wall frantically, trying to break through the wall and enter the mushroom cave. It turned out that the head was too big and got stuck. Qin Lang nodded and felt relieved. At this time, a bold idea flashed through his mind. Since the opponent was stuck by the wall, could he take this opportunity to grind the opponent to death? What kind of cards will a monster with 80,000 combat power drop? Chapter 107, Set Off. Chanting. After seriously considering the feasibility of this tactic, Qin Lang made a decisive decision and took out the dark gold weapon longbow, Daybreak, from the storage space. After tearing it open, a large fiery red bow suddenly appeared in Qin Lang's hand. The bow looked like it was carved from jade, and it was so heavy that it fell from his hand. Qin Lang took out more than a dozen gold card level explosive arrows, penetrating arrows and broken gold arrows from the storage space. Qin Lang had a lot of these consumables in his hands. Since there were no archers in the team, Lin Hua's current profession is a sharpshooter, so it is useless to keep it. You can use it, but you can't live without it. Fortunately, I didn't replace it. Qin Lang chuckled and took a few steps forward with the longbow in his hand. The big head was still hitting the wall crazily. It looked like he wouldn't be able to get out for a while. How about trying the piercing arrow combined with the power of Daybreak? Qin Lang took a deep breath, opened the bow into a full moon, and placed the penetrating arrow on the arrow stand. He heard a roar, and the arrow brought a spiral wind arc and hit the big head. Puff. Blood suddenly shot out from his brain. His big head was shaking with pain, and he even forgot to continue attacking for a while. Can break defenses. Qin Lang was overjoyed and no longer hesitated. All kinds of arrows were directed at the big head in different ways, as if the big head was a target. After a while, the huge monster's head was filled with all kinds of arrows, and the wounds were even worse. Too many to count. However, after all, this is a terrifying creature with a combat power of 8. It is staggeringly tenacious in life, and it is still alive and kicking, even after being beaten like this. Qin Lang uses dark gold level weapons, and the arrows are all gold level. If it were a tank, dozens of them would be overturned. See, if you're lucky enough to give me more in stock. Qin Lang pulled out more than a dozen golden card arrows and launched a new round of offensive point. This mechanical attack lasted for a full hour and a half. Qin Lang's arms were almost too sore to lift. His big head finally screamed, and two huge white eyes exploded one after another through the combat power detector. It was determined that the big head was dead. Qin Lang then cautiously approached it, entered through the broken eyeball of the big head, and found the card shrouded in white light. There is only one card, but this card is different from what Qin Lang has seen before. There is an extremely complex pattern on the back of the card, and the entire card is dark red. Even in his previous life, Qin Lang had never seen such a card, but he knew that this card must be a higher end card than bright gold. Card level, skill. After learning weird transformation, you can make weird changes. Under normal conditions of use, the combat power reaches 50,000, or strengthen 5 bright gold cards, or 10 dark gold cards. Qin Lang was speechless for a moment and slapped his forehead hard. He focused on killing monsters with card bugs, forgetting an important point. Many higher level cards have learning conditions, and monsters like this with 8 combat power cannot learn them for a while, even if they drop the cards. So, I took a big pie home. Qin Lang shook his head and smiled bitterly, but he soon felt relieved. 50,000 combat power, whether it is far or close, sooner or later it will be used. The next thing to do is to find the other 7 apostles to lift the curse. Qin Lang glanced at the dawn in his hand, wondering whether he should let himself take a part-time job as a remote professional, otherwise he would lose this dark gold bow in vain. The power of this thing is much more domineering than the flying sword Yangren, but I don't have any color card level 1s in my hand right now. I don't care about the Archer Core card. Let's go back first. Qin Lang put away the card happily, greeted Qze and Zhao Hei, and returned the same way. By the way, he said hello to a few people who had always maintained spiritual communication with him. Qin Lang, don't worry, I'm still alive. The monster was killed by me. After a while of silence, the one with Laoli's 60,000 combat power. Fucked to death by you. Qin Lang, well, it was a fluke. Apart from being awesome, I can't think of a second adjective for Zhu Yun. Qin Lang didn't say anything about the big head. It had nothing to do with trust, but it was just not necessary. Under the scorching sun, Qin Lang rode a motorcycle on the ruins. On the way, he asked Zhao Hei about the locations of the other apostles. Zhao Hei told him that 200 miles to the east was the location of the third apostle, and in that direction, we are already very close to Changteng City. First, go to Changteng to find a place to settle down, collect some information, and then go to find the other apostles. A few days later, Qin Lang and his group of 7 people left the Anhu where they had lived for half a year with a cat and a mushroom man. At this time, Qin Lang's vehicle has also been updated, using a color card level mobile fortress. This is a color card he captured a long time ago, but he has not found a chance to use it. Compared with the White Devil's damaged war fortress, the mobile fortress is more defensive and has extremely strong defensive capabilities. The tires that can change into 4 forms are enough to cope with various complex terrains and climates, and the internal space is even more spacious. It is more than 200 square meters and looks like a big turtle from a distance. Boss, how many good things have you hidden? You should take them out as soon as possible. Laoli's eyes widened. Why? Did you take it out so early? You think it's a weapon. You can stuff it into the space when it's not in use. Once this thing is taken out, it can't be stuffed back. You don't think it's big, but I think it takes up space. Qin Lang's hands were not idle when he spoke, and he placed the panel mirror and transaction terminal in the master bedroom. Lao, Zhu, how about you be the driver? Qin Lang placed the color card mechanical control master on the table. Zhu Yun was stunned. Why are you giving out color cards now? Are we rich to this extent? What's the point of color cards? Sooner or later, I will upgrade you all to dark gold. Qin Lang put his arm around Lin Wana and Chen Zhu. You or Ding Yuan, whoever can learn. I'll go into the house first. Zhu Yun glanced at Ding Yuan. Do you want to learn? But driving is very tiring. Ding Yuan took the color card. No matter how tired I am, I will learn. Master. Bedroom. What are you looking for? Lin Wana sat next to Qin Lang, watching him fiddle with the trading terminal. I want to find a legendary archer core card. When you have time, help me keep an eye on it. If you get a color card archer core, call me. The only thing I lack now is a long range attack method. The medium and short distance is enough. Qin Lang did not hide it from them. Okay, we know. We will help you keep an eye at any time. The three women nodded. I don't know when I can come back. After going to Changteng, Chen Zhu looked at the small house that was getting smaller and smaller and felt a little emotional. There were many memories there. Seeing this scene, Qin Lang also felt a little touched. More of it was sadness and worry. Where are you, Xiaoni? Did my rebirth cause you to encounter the butterfly effect? You are so smart. You must be okay. After thinking carefully about the feasibility of this tactic, Qin Lang made a decisive decision and took out the dark gold weapon longbow, drawn from the storage space point. After tearing it open, a fiery red bow suddenly appeared in Qin Lang's hand. The bow body seemed to be carved from jade, and it was heavy in the hand point. Qin Lang also took out more than a dozen gold card level explosive arrows, penetrating arrows and broken gold arrows from the storage space. Qin Lang had a lot of these consumables. Since there was no archer in the team, Lin Wana's current profession is a sharpshooter. He kept them unused. You can use it, but you can't do without it. Fortunately, I didn't exchange it. Qin Lang chuckled, holding the longbow, and took a few steps forward. The big head was still banging against the wall frantically, and it seemed that he would not be able to get out for a while. Try the power of the piercing arrow with the dawn. Qin Lang took a deep breath, opened the bow into a full moon, and put the piercing arrow on the rack. With a bang, the arrow brought a spiral arc of wind and shot straight into the big head. Puff! Blood spurted out of the brain, and the big head trembled in pain, and even forgot to continue attacking. It can break the defense. Qin Lang was overjoyed, and no longer hesitated. He shot all kinds of arrows at the big head in various ways, as if he had used the big head as a target. Soon, the huge monster's head was full of arrows and the wounds were countless. However, this is a terrifying creature with a combat power of 8 after all. It is so tenacious that it is still alive and kicking, even after being beaten like this. You know, Qin Lang used dark gold weapons and the arrows were all gold card level. If it were a tank, dozens of them would be overturned. See, you are lucky, and I have a lot of stock. Qin Lang took out a dozen gold card arrows and launched a new round of offensive point. This mechanical attack lasted for a full hour and a half. Qin Lang's arms were so sore that he couldn't lift them. The big head finally screamed, and two huge white eyes burst open one after another through the combat power detector. It was confirmed that the big head was dead. Qin Lang then approached carefully, entered through the broken eyeball of the big head, and found the card covered by white light. There was only one card. But this card was different from what Qin Lang had seen before. There was an extremely complex pattern on the back of the card, and the whole card was dark red. Even in the previous life, Qin Lang had never seen this kind of card, but he knew that this card must be a higher level card than bright gold. Card level? Skills, weirdness. After learning, you can make strange changes. Under normal conditions, the combat power reaches 50,000. Or strengthen 5 bright golds or 10 dark golds. Qin Lang was speechless for a moment and slapped his forehead hard. He was busy killing monsters with bugs and forgot a very important point. Many higher level cards have learning conditions, and monsters like this with 8 combat power, even if they drop cards, can't learn them for a while. So, I took a big cake home. Qin Lang shook his head and smiled bitterly, but he was relieved. Soon 50,000 combat power is not far away, not near, and sooner or later there will be a day when it can be used. The next thing to do is to find the other 7 apostles and lift the curse. Qin Lang looked at the dawn in his hand and wondered if he should take on a part-time remote job, otherwise this dark gold bow would be wasted. The power of this thing is much more powerful than the flying sword Yangren, but I don't have a color card level itch core card at the moment. Never mind, let's go back first. Qin Lang happily put away the card, called Xian Zhaohui, and returned the same way. By the way, he also said hello to the few people who kept in touch with him. Qin Lang, don't worry, I'm still alive, and I killed the monster after a moment of silence. The one with 60,000 combat power of Laoli. Killed by you, Qin Lang. Well, lucky. Zuyun, I can't think of a second adjective except awesome. Qin Lang didn't say anything about the big head. It had nothing to do with trust, but it was just unnecessary. Under the scorching sun, Qin Lang rode his motorcycle on the ruins. On the way, he asked Zhao Hei about the location of the other apostles. Zhao Hei told him that 200 miles to the east was the location of the third apostle, and that direction was infinitely close to Changteng City. Let's go to Changteng to find a place to settle down, collect some information, and then go find the other apostles. A few days later, Qin Lang and his group of 7, with a cat and a mushroom man, left the small house, where they had lived for half a year at this time. Qin Lang's vehicle had also been updated and replaced. He used a mobile fortress of the color card level. This was a color card he had seized a long time ago, and he had never found a chance to use 1 point compared with the damaged war fortress of the White Demon. The mobile fortress is more inclined to defense, and has extremely strong defense capabilities. The tires that can change into 4 forms are enough to cope with various complex terrains and climates. The internal space is even more spacious, more than 200 square meters, and it looks like a big turtle from a distance. Boss, how many good things have you hidden? You should have taken it out earlier. Old Lee's eyes widened. Why? Take it out earlier. You think it's a weapon? You can put it in the space when you don't need it. Once you take it out, you can't put it back. You don't mind it being too big, but I think it takes up space. Qin Lang's hands were not idle while he spoke. He placed the panel mirror in the transaction terminal in the main control bedroom. Old Zhu, how about you being the driver? Qin Lang put the color card mechanical control master on the table. Zhu Yun was stunned. Why are color cards being given out now? Are we already so rich? What's the color card? Sooner or later I will strengthen you all to dark gold. Qin Lang put his arm around Lin Wana and his arm around Chen Zhu. You or Ding Yuan, whoever can learn. I'll go in first. Zhu Yun glanced at Ding Yuan. Do you want to learn? But driving is very tiring. Ding Yuan took the color card. No matter how tired I am, I have to learn. Main control bedroom. What are you looking for? Lin Wana sat next to Qin Lang, watching him fiddle with the trading terminal. I want to find a legendary archer core card. When you have time, help me keep an eye on it. If you get a color archer core card, call me. The only thing I lack now is a long range attack method. The medium and short distance is enough. Qin Lang did not hide it from them. Okay, we know. We will help you keep an eye on it at any time. The 3 women nodded. I don't know when I can come back. After going to Changteng, Chen Zhu looked at the smaller and smaller Anxiety, feeling a little emotional, where there were many memories. Witnessing this scene, Qin Lang also felt a little touched, more sad and worried. Zhao Ni, where are you? Did my rebirth cause you to encounter the butterfly effect? You are so smart. You must be okay. Chapter 108. Big brother, please come to my room. Although the road from Haicheng to Changteng was only a few hundred kilometers, it took 3 full days. Due to the loss of human maintenance, the bridges and highways connecting cities have long been difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. This is a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where you can even get lost even if you are navigating. In addition to the difficulty of traveling on the road, the main reason was that they encountered too many monsters along the way. Qin Lang could naturally ignore the dozen or so monsters here and there, but Qin Lang and the others encountered 3 groups of corpses and tides alone. Faced with this, thousands of corpses and monsters inevitably fight and clean the battlefield, and time is wasted in this way. It is worth mentioning that on the second day to Changteng, Qin Lang was very lucky and spent a lot of money to buy a color card talent from the trading terminal, Elf Archer, which is a kind of person who has a strong sense of danger. At the same time, the core card is very good at archery, which can have a positive chain effect with Daybreak. In order to allow Dawn to exert greater power in the next battle, Qin Lang raised the Jinka Longbow Mastery and Jinka Archery Champion to LV4 in one go. At this time, Qin Lang's arrow was more powerful than the Holy Sword. After the strengthening of these cards, Qin Lang's combat power reached 19,000 without any suspense. Ouch. The Big Mac, which was as huge as a hill, was shot in the head with an arrow, and its huge body fell heavily on its knees between the mountain of corpses and the sea of bones. The mobile fortress slowly ran over the corpse, and the card in Big Mac's head was swallowed up by a fat cat with black fur, white paws and a white chest. We have arrived in Nagato City. Qin Lang looked at the collapsed bridge, and the broken blood-stained placard clearly said welcome to Changteng City. Parking. Less than half an hour after entering Changteng City, a sentry box appeared in front of the mobile fortress. Dozens of men and women holding firearms stopped the mobile fortress. Each of them had weather-beaten faces. Again, point those who can survive until the third stage are not stupid. Their average combat power is 4,000. What should I say? A fierce look flashed in Leoli's eyes. I'll go talk to them. If they wanted to attack, they would have attacked already. Why wait until now? Qin Lang said something, asked Ding Yuan to stop the car, and walked down the mobile fortress. Fuck, this kid actually has 19,000 combat power, higher than the 5 heavenly kings. Where did he come from? As soon as Qin Lang got out of the car, he was locked by 5 or 6 combat power detectors. After reading Qin Lang's combat power, the men and women blocking the road put down their weapons in a burst of exclamations. Are all people who have seen big scenes, and they know that when facing masters with more than 0 combat power, firearms can have little effect, and when facing masters with more than 10,000 combat power, firearms are no different from children's toy water guns. Brother, where are you coming from? Where are you going? The black-skinned man who spoke is the leader of this group of people, with a combat strength of 5,500. Qin Lang said lightly, come from Heicheng to hunt in Changteng. Why did you stop me? No. Brother, please don't misunderstand. We are not stopping you. The black-skinned man was startled, and hurriedly explained, this is an order from the 5 heavenly kings, asking us to guard the entrance to the city. If any strange forces enter, we must check your identity. 5 heavenly kings? Tell me, who are they? Qin Lang walked straight into the shelter where this group of people lived. Every step forward, people around him will subconsciously take several steps back. This is the sense of oppression coming from 19,000 powerful men. Yes, please come to the big brother's house. Let me tell you in detail. Our small place is short of supplies. If there is a lack of hospitality, please don't be offended. The dark-skinned man quickly waved his hand and asked his men to prepare. He took Qin Lang into the air-conditioned tent. Qin Lang raised his palm and created an ice mushroom and placed it on the table. As the cold air overflowed, the temperature of the tent instantly dropped by more than 10 degrees, making it indescribably comfortable. The corners of the dark-skinned man's mouth twitched. Well, big brother is big brother. It turns out you use this method to cool down. I have learned a lot today. Qin Lang's expression was indifferent. Let's get down to business. Yes. The black-skinned man said hurriedly. The 5 heavenly kings refer to the bosses of the 5 shelters in the east, south, west, north and middle are the east tyrant, the south dinosaur, the west Hangai, the north Arhat, and the middle Kingsu. These 5 people occupy 5 areas of Changteng, and other small shelters provide cards to these 5 big guys every month according to their areas. How is their relationship? Qin Lang asked casually. The dark-skinned man thought for a while. Well, to be honest, I'm also a small person living in the cracks. I don't know the relationship between these big guys. The only thing I know is that Zhang Qingsu has a good relationship with the other 4 big guys. Haha, because her refugees are all women. You also know that now is the end of the world, and women, especially beautiful women, are scarce resources like cards. Oh, according to what you said, this Zhang Qingsu is a sea queen. Qin Lang smiled lightly. The dark-skinned man was shocked and waved his hands quickly. I dare not say that. If she finds out about this, my life will be in danger. Is there anything else I should know? The black-skinned man nodded. Oh. At the end of every month, they will conduct card transactions in the central sanctuary, and they will also hold a meeting of the 5 kings. At that time, even the leaders of the small sanctuaries have to attend. To put it simply, the 5 heavenly kings are in charge of Vine, and any shelter that dares to disobey them or do not follow the rules will be jointly sanctioned. Well, how strong are they, Qin? Lang lit a cigarette for himself. They are all extremely strong, but they can't compare with you, eldest brother. The highest one is Tyrant, with a combat power of 12. This is the data from last month. The black-skinned man was extremely flattering. Oh, 12 combat power. Qin Lang nodded, having a relatively intuitive understanding of the situation of the 5 heavenly kings in Changteng City. I've got the news I wanted. It's time to go. Qin Lang stood up and prepared to leave. The dark-skinned man hurriedly said, brother, I have prepared a gift for you. Do you want to take a look? You are so poor that you can't even turn on the air conditioner. What gift can you prepare for me? Qin Lang found it a bit funny, but not disgusted. Flattery and speculation are one of the ways to survive in the apocalypse. The dark-skinned man smiled evilly. Don't say it, don't say it. Although our place is small, we still have some good stuff. Come on, bring it in. Crash. There was a sound of chains, and a young woman with dirty clothes was pushed in. She had chains around her neck and feet, and her eyes were filled with fear. Qin Lang raised his eyebrows. Huh. The dark-skinned man smiled flatteringly and said, brother, this woman was caught a few days ago. She was a wanderer. She ran very fast. In order to catch her, I lost many brothers. By the way, she is a virgin. From the sea. Although the road from Chengcheng to Changteng was only a few hundred kilometers, it took 3 full days. Due to the loss of human maintenance, the bridges and highways connecting cities have long been difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. This is a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where you can even get lost even if you are navigating. In addition to the difficulty of traveling on the road, the main reason was that they encountered too many monsters along the way. Qin Lang could naturally ignore the dozen or so monsters here and there, but Qin Lang and the others encountered 3 groups of corpses and tides alone. Faced with this, thousands of corpses and monsters inevitably fight and clean the battlefield, and time is wasted in this way. It is worth mentioning that on the second day to Changteng, Qin Lang was very lucky and spent a lot of money to buy a color card talent from the trading terminal, Elf Archer, which is a kind of person who has a strong sense of danger. At the same time, the core card is very good at archery, which can have a positive chain effect with Daybreak. In order to allow Dawn to exert greater power in the next battle, Qin Lang raised the Jinka Longbow Mastery and Jinka Archery Champion to LV4 in one go. At this time, Qin Lang's arrow was more powerful than the Holy Sword. After the strengthening of these cards, Qin Lang's combat power reached 19,000 without any suspense. Ouch. The Big Mac, which was as huge as a hill, was shot in the head with an arrow, and its huge body fell heavily on its knees between the mountain of corpses and the sea of bones. The mobile fortress slowly ran over the corpse, and the card in Big Mac's head was swallowed up by a fat cat with black fur, white paws and a white chest. We have arrived in Nagato City. Qin Lang looked at the collapsed bridge, and the broken blood-stained placard clearly read Welcome to Changteng City. Parking, less than half an hour after entering Changteng City, a sentry box appeared in front of the mobile fortress. Dozens of men and women holding firearms stopped the mobile fortress. Each of them had weather-beaten faces again. Those who can survive to the 3rd stage are not stupid. Their average combat power is 4,000. What should I say? A fierce look flashed in Leoli's eyes. I'll go talk to them. If they wanted to attack, they would have attacked already. Why wait until now? Qin Lang said something, asked Ding Yuan to stop the car, and walked down the mobile fortress. Fuck, this kid actually has 19,000 combat power, higher than the 5 heavenly kings. Where did he come from? As soon as Qin Lang got out of the car, he was locked by 5 or 6 combat power detectors. After reading Qin Lang's combat power, the men and women blocking the road put down their weapons in a burst of exclamations. They are all people who have seen big scenes, and they know that when facing masters with more than 0 combat power, firearms can have little effect, and when facing masters with more than 10,000 combat power, firearms are no different from children's toy water guns. Brother, where are you coming from? Where are you going? The black-skinned man who spoke is the leader of this group of people, with a combat strength of 5,500. Qin Lang said lightly. Come from Heicheng to hunt in Changteng. Why did you stop me? No. Brother, please don't misunderstand. We are not stopping you. The black-skinned man was startled, and hurriedly explained. This is an order from the 5 heavenly kings, asking us to guard the entrance to the city. If any strange forces enter, we must check your identity. Oh. 5 heavenly kings? Tell me, who are they? Qin Lang walked straight into the shelter where this group of people lived. Every step forward, people around him will subconsciously take several steps back. This is the sense of oppression coming from 19,000 powerful men. Yes, please come to the big brother's house. Let me tell you in detail. Our small place is short of supplies. If there is a lack of hospitality, please don't be offended. The dark-skinned man quickly waved his hand and asked his men to prepare. He took Qin Lang into the air-conditioned tent. Qin Lang raised his palm and created an ice mushroom and placed it on the table. As the cold air overflowed, the temperature of the tent instantly dropped by more than 10 degrees, making it indescribably comfortable. The corners of the dark-skinned man's mouth twitched. Well, big brother is big brother. It turns out you use this method to cool down. I have learned a lot today. Qin Lang's expression was indifferent. Let's get down to business. Yes, yes, yes. The black-skinned man hurriedly said. The 5 great kings refer to the bosses of the 5 shelters in the east, south, west, north, and center. They are the tyrant of the east, the dinosaur of the south, the Lord Hung of the west, the Ahut of the north, and Kingsu of the center. These 5 people occupy the 5 areas of Changteng. Other small shelters provide cards to these 5 bosses every month according to their areas. How is their relationship? Qin Lang asked casually. The black-skinned man thought for a while. To be honest, I'm also a small person surviving in the cracks. I don't know the relationship between these bosses. The only thing I know is that Kingsu of the center has a good relationship with the other 4 bosses. Haha, because her shelter is full of women, you know, it is the end of the world now. Women, especially beautiful women, are like cards. They are scarce resources. Oh, according to what you said, this Kingsu of the center is a sea queen. Qin Lang smiled lightly. The dark-skinned man was shocked and waved his hands quickly. Don't dare to say that. If she knew about this, I would lose my life. Is there anything else I should know? The dark-skinned man nodded. Oh. At the end of every month, they will trade cards in the central shelter and will also hold a meeting of the 5 kings. At that time, even the leaders of the small shelters must attend. In short, Changteng is ruled by the 5 heavenly kings. Any shelter that dares to disobey them or does not follow the rules will be jointly sanctioned. Well, how strong are they? Qin Lang lit a cigarette for himself. They are all very strong, but they can't compare with you, big brother. The highest is the tyrant, reaching 12 combat power. This is the data from last month. The dark-skinned man was extremely flattering. Oh, 12 combat power. Qin Lang nodded and had a relatively intuitive understanding of the situation of the 5 heavenly kings in Changteng City. I have got the information I want. It's time to go. Qin Lang stood up and prepared to leave. The dark-skinned man hurriedly said, brother, I have prepared a gift for you. Do you want to take a look? You are so poor that you can't even afford to turn on the air conditioner. What gift do you prepare for me? Qin Lang felt a little funny, but he didn't hate it. Flattering and opportunism are one of the ways to survive in the end times. The dark-skinned man smiled wickedly. Don't say it. Don't say it. Although our place is small, there are always some good things. Come on, bring it in. Clang. A sound of iron chains rang out, and a young woman with dirty clothes was pushed in. She had iron chains around her neck and feet, and her eyes were full of fear. Qin Lang raised his eyebrows. Huh. The dark-skinned man smiled flatteringly. Brother, this woman was caught a few days ago. She is a wanderer and runs very fast. In order to catch her, I lost a lot of brothers. By the way, she is a virgin. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Zazuki. Wanderer is not a profession, but a general term for a certain group of people. Such people often have no fixed shelter and rely on their own strength to travel through the ruins of a city. Qin Lang has lost the protection of the shelter many times and has been a wanderer, so he knows this kind of people very well. Brother, do you like it? The dark-skinned man rubbed his palms nervously. Qin Lang smiled faintly. Women, what normal man wouldn't like it? Since you are so kind, I will accept it. The dark-skinned man was obviously relieved and sent Qin Lang out of the tent in a flattering manner. Brother, please go slowly. If there is anything you need me to do, just ask. Qin Lang left this simple shelter without looking back, and the woman who was chained behind him showed no intention of resisting and stumbled after Qin Lang. Boss, what's going on with you? Tired of the delicacies and want to change your taste? Old Li Jian sent a private message. Qin Lang ignored him at all. When he was about to get in the car, he turned around and crushed the chain on the woman's body with his bare hands. Let's go, you are free. The woman stared blankly at the young man in front of her, rubbed her worn wrist, and suddenly said, aren't you very powerful? Otherwise Chen Ji wouldn't be so polite to you. Chen Ji. Qin Lang shouted, you mean that black guy? Does it have anything to do with you, whether I'm strong or not? The woman's face was dirty and there was no expression on her face. She could only hear her faintly saying, it's really okay. Can you give me some water to drink? I haven't drank water for 2 days. Qin Lang said nothing and threw a few water cards to the woman. The woman tore open the water card and started drinking immediately. After drinking 5 or 6 bottles in one breath, she breathed contentedly. Thank you. My name is Zhaozuki, and Zhao Qingsu is my sister. If you are willing to take me to her shelter, she will definitely repay you. Qin Lang smiled when he heard this. If you are really Zhao Qingsu's sister, how could you fall into Chen Ji's hands? Lies must also be logical. I didn't lie. I didn't tell Chen Ji my identity because I was afraid that if Chen Ji found out, he would use me to blackmail my sister. Of course he didn't dare, but if he sacrificed me to the tyrants and other kings, my sister would be very passive. Qin Lang thought about it carefully, and it seemed to make sense. Do you have your sister's contact information? Yes, I remember the number. Zhaozuki nodded repeatedly. Dial the number. Qin Lang handed over the phone. The phone was quickly connected, and a woman's voice came from the other end of the phone. Who told you my number? First tell me who you are. Zhao Qingsu, the Zangshan king among the 5 heavenly kings. Oh, where is your shelter? I'll send your sister Zhaozuki to you right now. Do you have Zuki in your hands? Okay, Changteng Central area, come here. Boarding. After hanging up the communication, Qin Lang signaled Zhaozuki to get in the car. Inside the car, as soon as she got in the car, Zhaozuki's big eyes began to look at the environment inside the car curiously. Who is she? Lin Wana was also curious. Qin Lang briefly explained her identity. If what she said is true, there is no harm in sending her back to the shelter. Is there anything to eat? Get her some. Yanzi, take her to take a bath first. She stinks. Zhaozuki raised her arm and smelled. After smelling it, I almost got drunk. After a while. After washing, Zhaozuki came out of the shower wearing a set of quite cool clothes. At this time, there were fried rice and several dishes of side dishes on the table. It's it for me? Zhaozuki swallowed. Eat. Qin Lang took a look at Zhaozuki and had to say that this woman's appearance was much more beautiful than he imagined. If it weren't for the long-term malnutrition that caused her to be too thin, she would definitely be able to compete with Chen Zhu and Sun Yan. Zhaozuki rushed to the dining table and started to stir up trouble. Soon she ate all the food, even licking the plate, as if it had been washed. How could you end up in Chen Ji's hands if you didn't just stay in your sister's shelter and wander around? Qin Lang asked casually while lying on the sofa in the living room smoking. The hunting team I was in charge of was attacked by monsters. All members were killed, and I was the only one left. I lost my communication equipment while escaping, and happened to catch up with Chen Ji leading the hunting team. I couldn't escape, so I could only tell him that I was a wanderer. Zhaozuki's eyes were eager. Can you give me one? You're very rude. Qin Lang threw half a pack of cigarettes to her. Zhaozuki took out one and smoked it. The remaining half of the pack was stuffed directly into her bra. She was so skillful that she didn't do it for the first time. It feels so good. I'm hooked in one sip. Zhaozuki's face was full of intoxication. Brother, you are not only handsome but also kind-hearted. Do you want to consider marrying my sister? In this way, you will not only have a beautiful woman, but also a beautiful woman. A beautiful wife and a man who can become a king. Qin Lang laughed it off and said, I'm not interested in those. You'd better tell me about the information about Changteng City. Okay, Nagato City is now jointly controlled by the 5 heavenly kings. In the following time, Zaozuki told Qin Lang the specific situation of Changteng City, which was very different from what Chenji gave. There were just some details. Zaozuki knew more than Chenji. To some extent, the authenticity of her identity has been improved a lot. Boss, there's someone blocking the car ahead. Ding Yuan initiated spiritual communication. Qin Lang came to the cab and saw through the single-sided tempered glass that a fortification was artificially constructed 100 meters in front of him. Behind the fortification stood many men and women who were looking at him. In terms of the sophistication and spirit of the equipment, it was obviously better than Shenji's team is much stronger. Is this your sister's shelter? Qin Lang asked Zaozuki. No, my sister's shelter only recruits women. This is the territory of Nanshai and Wang's dinosaur. Zaozuki shook her head. Leo, Li, go and ask them what they want to do. Qin Lang was too lazy to move and informed Point Leo Li got out of the mobile fortress and shouted, damn it, do you want to die? How dare you block my car? Qin Lang, Zaozuki, soon, a man who looked like a leader walked out from behind the fortifications. He said with a sneer on his face, oh, brother, misunderstandings are all misunderstandings. I will ask the brothers to clear the road for you right away. Damn it, don't be so mean. I have a bad temper. Leoli cursed and got back into the car. The next second, he showed his ability to watch people order food to the extreme, saying with a flattering smile on his face, who said the combat power detector is useless? Just perfect for scaring these little brats. Qin Lang gave a lazy thumbs up. What about the 5 heavenly kings of Longvine? To be honest, he really didn't take these people seriously. Leoli, who had the highest combat power of 12, could probably pick several of them. Wanderer is not a profession, but a general term for a certain group of people. Such people often have no fixed shelter and rely on their own strength to travel through the ruins of the city. Qin Lang has lost the protection of the shelter many times and has been a wanderer, so he knows this kind of people very well. Brother, do you like it? The dark-skinned man rubbed his palms nervously. Qin Lang smiled faintly. Women, what normal man wouldn't like it? Since you are so kind, I will accept it. The dark-skinned man was obviously relieved and sent Qin Lang out of the tent in a flattering manner. Brother, please go slowly. If there is anything you need me to do, just ask. Qin Lang left this simple shelter without looking back, and the woman who was chained behind him showed no intention of resisting and stumbled after Qin Lang. Point boss, what's going on with you? Tired of delicious delicacies and want to change your taste? Old Li Jian sent a private message. Qin Lang ignored him at all. When he was about to get in the car, he turned around and crushed the chain on the woman's body with his bare hands. Let's go, you are free. The woman stared blankly at the young man in front of her, rubbed her already worn wrist, and suddenly said, are you very powerful? Otherwise, Chenji wouldn't be so polite to you. Chen-Ji. Qin Lang shouted, you mean that black guy? Does it have anything to do with you, whether I'm strong or not? The woman's face was dirty and there was no expression on her face. She just said quietly, it doesn't matter. Can you give me some water? I haven't drank water for 2 days. Qin Lang said nothing and threw a few water cards to the woman. The woman tore open the water card and started drinking immediately. After drinking 5 or 6 bottles in one breath, she breathed contentedly. Thank you, my name is Zaozuki, and Zhao Qingsu is my sister. If you are willing to take me to her shelter, she will definitely repay you. Qin Lang smiled when he heard this. If you are really Zhao Qingsu's sister, how could you fall into Chenji's hands? Lies must also be logical. I didn't lie. I didn't tell Chenji my identity because I was afraid that if Chenji found out, he would use me to blackmail my sister. Of course he didn't dare, but if he sacrificed me to the tyrants and other kings, my sister would be very passive. Qin Lang thought about it carefully, and it seemed to make sense. Do you have your sister's contact information? Yes, I remember the number. Zaozuki silently repeatedly. Dial the number. Qin Lang handed over the phone. The phone was quickly connected, and a woman's voice came from the other end of the phone. Who told you my number? First, tell me who you are, Zal. Kingsu, the Zangshan King among the 5 heavenly kings. Oh, where is your shelter? I'll send your sister Zalzuki to you right now. Do you have Zuki in your hands? Okay, Changteng Central Area, come here. Boarding. After hanging up the communication, Qin Lang signaled Zalzuki to get in the car. Point inside the car. As soon as she got in the car, Zalzuki's big eyes began to look at the environment inside the car curiously. Who is she? Lin Wana was also curious. Qin Lang briefly explained her identity. If what she said is true, there is no harm in sending her back to the shelter. Is there anything to eat? Get her some Yanzi. Take her to take a bath first. She stinks so much. Zalzuki raised her arm and smelled. After smelling it, I almost got drunk. After a while. After washing, Zalzuki came out of the shower wearing a set of quite cool clothes. At this time, there were fried rice and several dishes of side dishes on the table. It's it for me. Zalzuki swallowed. Eat. Qin Lang took a look at Zalzuki and had to say that this woman's appearance was much more beautiful than he imagined. If it weren't for the long-term malnutrition that caused her to be too thin, she would definitely have the capital to compete with Chen Zhu and Sun Yan. Zalzuki rushed to the dining table and started to stir up trouble. Soon she ate all the food, even licking the plate, as if it had been washed. How could you end up in Chen Ji's hands if you didn't just stay in your sister's shelter and wander around? Qin Lang asked casually while lying on the sofa in the living room smoking. The hunting team I was in charge of was attacked by monsters. All members were killed, and I was the only one left. I lost my communication equipment while escaping, and happened to catch up with Chen Ji leading the hunting team. I couldn't escape, so I could only tell him that I was a wanderer. Zalzuki's eyes were eager. Can you give me one? You're very rude. Qin Lang threw half a pack of cigarettes to her. Zalzuki took out one and smoked it. The remaining half of the pack was stuffed directly into her bra. She was so skillful that she didn't do it for the first time. It feels so good. I'm hooked in one sip. Zalzuki's face was full of intoxication. Brother, you are not only handsome but also kind-hearted. Do you want to consider marrying my sister? In this way, you will not only have a beautiful woman, but also a beautiful woman, a beautiful wife and a man who can become a king. Qin Lang laughed it off and said, I'm not interested in those. You'd better tell me about the information about Changteng City. Okay, Nagato City is now jointly controlled by the 5 heavenly kings. In the following time, Zalzuki told Qin Lang the specific situation of Changteng City, which was very similar to what Chen Ji gave. There were just some details. Zalzuki knew more than Chen Ji. To some extent, the authenticity of her identity has been improved a lot. Boss, there's someone blocking the car ahead. Ding Yuan initiated spiritual communication. Qin Lang came to the cab and saw through the single-sided tempered glass that a fortification was artificially constructed 100 meters in front of him. Behind the fortification many men and women who were looking at him. In terms of the sophistication and spirit of the equipment, it was obviously better than Chen Ji's team is much stronger. Is this your sister's shelter? Qin Lang asked Zalzuki. No, my sister's shelter only recruits women. This is the territory of Nanshai and Wang's dinosaur. Zalzuki shook her head. Leo, Li, go and ask them what they want to do. Qin Lang was too lazy to move and informed. Leo Li got out of the mobile fortress and shouted, damn it, do you want to die? How dare you block my car? Qin Lang, Zalzuki. Soon, a man who looked like a leader walked out from behind the fortifications. He said with a sneer on his face, oh, brother, misunderstandings are all misunderstandings. I will ask the brothers to clear the road for you right away. Damn it, don't be so mean. I have a bad temper. Leo Li cursed and got back into the car. The next second he showed his ability to watch people order food to the extreme, saying with a flattering smile on his face, who said the combat power detector is useless? Just perfect for scaring these little brats. Qin Lang gave a lazy thumbs up. What about the 5 heavenly kings of Longvine? To be honest, he really didn't take these people seriously. Leo Li, who had the highest combat power of 12, could probably pick several of them. Chapter 110 Women's Shelter. Although this team is small in number, each one of them is the strongest among the strongest. We must have a good relationship with them. Zaozuki thought to herself. Although Qin Lang and Leo Li didn't mean to show off at all and were just having a normal conversation, this scene was different in Zaozuki's eyes and gave her a huge shock to her soul. Before, Chenji treated Qin Lang like a licking dog and even sent him out, which had already made Zaozuki realize that Qin Lang's strength was extraordinary. Now, the men he sent were cursing and scaring away the captain of Nanshan King Dinosaur. This strength is definitely better than that of his sister Zhao Qingsu. Still strong. It's a pity that she doesn't have a combat power detector, otherwise she would really like to see how amazing the combat power of this group of people is. It 1 per capita? How terrible is it to be with such a man who dares to plunder our resources? But while Zaozuki was thinking wildly, she glanced at where Linwana's 3 daughters were. They happened to be looking at her as well. She quickly looked away and carefully sipped the fruit tea in her hand. 2 sisters. She has thoughts about our men. Linwana lowered her voice and said in a voice that only her 2 companions could hear. As a woman, she was particularly sensitive to this kind of thing. She dares. Chenzu's eyes flashed with fierceness. Sun Yan raised the corner of her mouth and subconsciously touched the warhammer stuck to the side. Of course, she didn't dare to act rashly and really beat Zaozuki to death, which would definitely make Qin Lang unhappy. Find an opportunity to kill them. The 3 women exchanged glances and nodded secretly. Qin Lang had no idea that a storm was brewing. He looked out the window. The end of the world is cruel and fair. Just like Death Point, even domestic first-tier cities like Changteng have turned into a wasteland after experiencing severe cold and scorching heat. There are no complete buildings in such large cities. The tallest buildings are only 6-story buildings, and taller business buildings have long become made of reinforced concrete ruins. However, since there are a large number of survivors in Nagato City, the entire city looks there was a bit of life up there. Along the way, in addition to the shriveled monster corpses and human corpses, you could occasionally encounter survivors. They often stayed in the dark and carefully observed the mobile fortress, not daring to step forward at all. This is a matter of common sense. Those who dare to drive a colorful vehicle through Changteng City so openly must either be under the influence of the 5 heavenly kings or have absolute confidence in themselves. No matter which one they are, they cannot provoke them exist. Its eldest sister, A. Few hours later, in the evening, the mobile fortress finally arrived at its destination. Zaozuki excitedly waved to the group of women in front, who were armed with live ammunition. The woman in the middle was wearing a white tights, a bamboo hat on her head, and a golden firearm around her waist, giving people a very capable and fierce look. Zhao Qingsu's eyes were excited. I always thought you had, sister. Zaozuki jumped off the mobile fortress, quickly came to Zhao Qingsu, vented all the grievances she had suffered during this period, and cried bitterly while hugging Zhao Qingsu. But it's okay. You'll be fine when you get home. Zhao Qingsu comforted her sister while looking at the man on the mobile fortress. The deputy beside him lowered his voice and said, Sister, this man has a combat power of 19. What? Did you read that correctly? Zhao Qingsu was startled, a little in disbelief. That's right, I tested it several times and it's indeed 19. The deputy said hurriedly. It's so scary. I hope he is not a cruel person like a tyrant. Zhao Qingsu swallowed and said from a distance, thank you for saving my sister. The shelter made an exception and let you in, opened the door, and welcomed the distinguished guests. This chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 110. Women's Shelter. Qin Lang laughed it off. Rescuing your sister is just a matter of course. You don't have to be so polite. I'm new to Changteng, and I really want to ask you something. I can go in alone. Qin Lang jumped down and walked straight forward. Of course, as long as I know the information, I will tell you everything. Please come in. Zhao Qingsu nodded, never taking off the hat on his head. After entering the shelter, Qin Lang began to take a broad look at the surrounding environment. As Zaozuki said, this shelter is purely composed of women, and there are quite a few of them. When they found such clean and handsome men coming to the shelter, they couldn't help but stop and watch. Some women even boldly posed in charming, or to put it bluntly, very coquettish poses. Fox, please restrain yourself. Zhao Qingsu reminded the young woman posing. The young woman chuckled and said, "Sister, I haven't seen a man in a long time. I want to restrain myself, but I can't. Put a banana on your head first." Zhao Qingsu threw out a banana. The young woman blushed and pouted. "Humph." Qin Lang laughed. "The atmosphere in your shelter is really good." Zhao Qingsu said calmly, "Fortunately, we are all sisters. There is not much mess. We are here. Please come this way." Zhao Qingsu led Qin Lang into an anhu. That's right. The place where Zhao Qingsu lives is Kaken's cabin. The difference is the internal layout. Her area and rooms are obviously larger than the one owned by Qin Language. There are more than 20 rooms, but there is no yard and too many rooms. Recreational facilities, a bit like barracks. The air conditioning in the barracks was very strong. Some women were resting on mats. When they heard the noise, they all sat up. After discovering Qin Lang, their eyes became strange. One of the dark-skinned women drew out a long knife and slashed at Qin Language. "Hey Mary, stop it." Zhao Qingsu shouted repeatedly, but the woman didn't listen at all. Just as the long knife was about to split the man in half, dozens of black tentacles appeared on the man's right hand suddenly, instantly binding Hei Mei's body. Qin Lang smiled and said, "Want to die?" "No. Qin. Mr. Qin, please don't argue with her for my sake. She is mentally ill. This is just once. If there is a next time, I will kill her, even if the King of Heaven comes." Qin Lang snorted coldly, swung his tentacles, and Hei Mei was hit hard against the wall. The others quickly carried her away for treatment. Black girl with 4 combat power is not even an ant in front of 19 combat power. Zhao Qingsu took a deep breath and looked at Qin Lang with awe. "Please, sit down." "Wait for them to sit down." Zhao Qingsu took off her bamboo hat, revealing a face that was not beautiful enough to overwhelm the whole country, but definitely one in a million. What attracted men the most was that she perfectly combined the weakness and strength of women. Come to think of it, a woman who could survive in the end times and become one of the 5 kings by herself. How could she be a weak independent little bird? Black girl was a slave in a shelter before. She was abused by that group of men for a long time, so she became mentally ill and lost her ability to speak and fertility. Zhao Qingsu felt it necessary to explain to Qin Lang. Qin Lang waved his hand. "It's okay, it's over, let's talk business. Brother Qin Lang, you are so awesome. Hei Mei is so strong. You beat her in one blow." Zhao Zuki sat next to Qin Lang, took Qin Lang's arm in a familiar way, and said with a smile, "Brother, come, smoke." As she said that, she reached out from her bra and took out the half pack of cigarettes Qin Lang had given her before chapter 111, Mutual Calculation. Snapped. The cigarette was lit, and Qin Lang took a deep breath. How should I put it? The taste of this cigarette is different from the ones he smoked before. It has a light milky aroma. Zhao Zuki chuckled, became more active, hugged Qin Lang's arm and said coquettishly, "Brother Qin Lang." In the car before, the 3 sisters kept staring at me, as if they wanted to eat me. "I don't even dare to get close to you. Now okay, no one will bother us, except my sister and I. We must stay for dinner." Qin Lang himself was not a moral model, so naturally he would not be embarrassed or uncomfortable. He smiled slightly and said, "Of course it's okay to have dinner, but let's talk about business first." Zhao Qingsu nodded and said straight to the point, "Changteng City seems to be controlled by the 5 heavenly kings to outsiders. In fact, the real controllers are only the 4 heavenly kings of the southeast, and northwest. It would be very uncomfortable for me, Zhao Qingsu, to be caught in the middle of them. It's uncomfortable. Our territory was originally very large, but it can't withstand their infiltration. The current control area is less than half of its original size. If this continues, it won't be long before there will be no room for me anymore. Mr. Qin, we might as well open the skylight and speak frankly. If the words are too unpleasant, don't be offended." Zhao Qingsu tucked a strand of hair behind her ears, paused and said, "You are very strong. You are the only one I have ever seen. There is an existence with a combat power of 19, but I don't know how much water there is in this 19 combat power. If you can help me break the situation, I'm willing to give a lot of resources, including my body and my sisters. I like people like you who speak directly. Do you want me to help you kill the 4 heavenly kings?" Qin Lang smiled playfully. No, no, no. Each of the 4 heavenly kings has their own strengths. They have so many masters under their command that they are not easy to deal with. The best result I expect is to kill one of them so that I can move the shelter out smoothly. If you think this planet's more difficult, at least I have to give them a warning so that they don't dare to think too much about my asylum in the short term and give me some time to breathe. Destroying the 4 heavenly kings is easy for me, but why should I do it? The chips are too small to impress me. Qin Lang smiled and touched Zazuka's silky little hand. After I destroy you, I will be the same way. A lot of resources can be seized. As for your sister's bodies, it's not good to say that in the end of the world, sex can only be used as a spice in a boring life, and it is dispensable. Zhao Qingsu smiled bitterly. Mr. Qin, you are too crazy. You should know that combat power does not mean everything. When I had 6,000 combat power, I killed more than one master with 0 combat power. Among the 4 kings, including me, which one don't have the unique skill to press the bottom of the box? Qin Lang played with Zazuka's little hand and said with a faint smile, I still say the same thing. I don't have enough chips. I'm too lazy to take action. Unless you can come up with something that impress me more. Zazuki puffed up her cheeks and said softly, brother, it's not that we are stingy. We really don't have much to give you. How about this? You help sister stabilize the shelter, and you can pick any of the sisters in our shelter. Just take it away, okay? What do you think I am? A pervert? Qin Lang was amused. Zhao Qingsu's eyelids drooped, and it took a long time before she raised her head and said, Mr. Qin, I will give you a greater benefit. The dark gold card. Is that enough? Qin Lang raised his head. Huh? Zhao Qingsu explained. The dark gold card is a card several times more powerful than the legendary color card. I know the location of the dark gold card, but because that place is guarded by very ferocious monsters, still, I have never dared to act rashly. As long as you help me, I will tell you the location of the card and help you get it. If the information is false, do you know how much you have to pay? Qin Lang smiled. Zhao Qingsu nodded seriously. I won't joke with my life. It's hard to survive until now, and I cherish my life more than anyone else. Okay, deal. Qin Lang made the final decision. In addition to the dark gold card position, I want all the previous benefits, and I can't miss any of them. Okay. A hint of disgust flashed in Zhao Qingsu's eyes, while Zazuki chuckled and snuggled into Qin Lang's arms. Brother, is good or bad? Tomorrow afternoon happens to be the day of the 5-party talks and trading. I have begun to look forward to Mr. Qin's performance at the meeting. Zhao Qingsu stood up. I'm going to ask someone to prepare dinner. Does Mr. Qin plan to stay here today? I'm looking for a few. A sister will accompany you. Forget it. I'm a person who chooses a bed. Changing places all the time makes me prone to insomnia. I'll come over at noon tomorrow. Qin Lang walked straight out. When he passed by Zhao Qingsu, he stretched out his hand and squeezed her tight buttocks. It felt great. Point of course, it can't be compared with Qzai's mushroom caps. Zhao Qingsu did not resist, but simply said, Mr. Qin, are you getting anxious now? Qin Lang laughed, said nothing, and left the shelter and cabin. Sister, your trick is very good at driving away tigers and devouring wolves. Zazuka's expression became serious, and the lingering smell on her body disappeared without a trace. Zhao Qingsu's attitude was indifferent. I hope this Qin Lang can bring me a little surprise. None of these men is a good guy. Zuki, you shouldn't be tempted by him, right? Zazuki did not hide her thoughts. Sister, he has 19 combat power. Even if there is water in it, if you squeeze it, it will still be 14 or 5. If it were you, wouldn't you be tempted? If you want to survive in the end of the world, you must either become a strong person yourself or rely on the strong. Isn't this what you taught me? Zhao Qingsu sighed. That's true, but this Qin Lang gives me a very bad feeling. He has been pretending to make himself appear frivolous and greedy. This kind of person is terrible. Oh, sister, don't think about things so complicated. No matter what happens tomorrow, what impact will it have on us? If Qin Lang wins, our shelter will have a backer. We can rely on him to wait for the changes. Qin Lang loses, and the 5 major the King of Heaven divides and eats it, and we make money on both sides. Mobile Fortress. I can hear their calculations in the northeast. If you win the 5-party talks tomorrow, they will have a big tree to rely on. On the contrary, if you lose, they will most likely join forces with the other 4 kings. Let's catch them all in one fell swoop, divide them and eat them, and they will make the profit. Zhu Yun's analysis was quite accurate. Qin Lang burst into laughter. Old Zhu, you have ignored the most critical point. How could I lose? Tomorrow I will take Zhao Hei and Qze to attend the 5-party talks, and you guys will go and do this. After hearing the plan, several people's eyes became excited. Boss, do you need to play so exciting? Laoli looked impatient. Qin Lang was happy. I'm not here to travel. I'm here to rule them. Pa. The cigarette was lit, and Qin Lang took a deep breath. How should I put it? The taste of this cigarette is different from the ones he smoked before. It has a light milky aroma. Zhaozuki chuckled, became more active, hugged Qin Lang's arm and said coquettishly, Brother Qin Lang. In the car before, the 3 sisters kept staring at me, as if they wanted to eat me. I don't even dare to get close to you. Now okay, no one will bother us, except my sister and I. We must stay for dinner. Qin Lang himself was not a moral model, so he naturally wouldn't be embarrassed or uncomfortable. He smiled slightly and said, of course it's okay to have dinner, but let's talk about business first. Zhao Qingsu nodded and said straight to the point, Changteng City seems to be controlled by the 5 heavenly kings to outsiders. In fact, the real controllers are only the 4 heavenly kings of the southeast, southeast, and northwest. It would be very uncomfortable for me, Zhao Qingsu, to be caught in the middle of them. It's uncomfortable. Our territory was originally very large, but it can't withstand their infiltration. The current control area is less than half of its original size. If this continues, it won't be long before there will be no room for me anymore. Mr. Qin, we might as well open the skylight and speak frankly. If the words are too unpleasant, don't be offended. Zhao Qingsu tucked a strand of hair behind her ears, paused and said, you are very strong. You are the only one I have ever seen. There is an existence with a combat power of 19, but I don't know how much water there is in this 19 combat power. If you can help me break the situation, I'm willing to give a lot of resources, including my body and my sisters. I like people like you who speak directly. Do you want me to help you kill the 4 heavenly kings? Qin Lang smiled playfully. No, no, no. Each of the 4 heavenly kings has their own strengths. They have so many masters under their command that they are not easy to deal with. The best result I expect is to kill one of them so that I can move the shelter out smoothly. If you think this planet's more difficult, at least I have to give them a warning so that they don't dare to think too much about my asylum in the short term and give me some time to breathe. Destroying the 4 heavenly kings is easy for me, but why should I do it? The chips are too small to impress me. Qin Lang smiled and touched Zhaozuki's silky little hand. After I destroy you, I will be the same way. A lot of resources can be seized. As for your sisters' bodies, it's not good to say that in the end of the world, sex can only be used as a spice in a boring life, and it is dispensable. Zhao Qingsu smiled bitterly. Mr. Qin, you are too crazy. You should know that combat power does not mean everything. When I had 6,000 combat power, I killed more than one master with 0 combat power. Among the 4 kings, including me, which one don't have the unique skill to press the bottom of the box? Qin Lang played with Zhaozuki's little hand and said with a faint smile, I still say the same thing. I don't have enough chips. I'm too lazy to take action, unless you can come up with something that impress me more. Zhaozuki puffed up her cheeks and said softly, brother, it's not that we are stingy. We really don't have much to give you. How about this? You help sister stabilize the shelter, and you can pick any of the sisters in our shelter. Just take it away, okay? What do you think I am? A pervert? Qin Lang was amused. Zhao Qingsu's eyelids drooped, and it took a long time before she raised her head and said, Mr. Qin, I will give you a greater benefit. The dark gold card. Is that enough? Qin Lang raised his head. Huh? Zhao Qingsu explained. The dark gold card is a card several times more powerful than the legendary color card. I know the location of the dark gold card, but because there are very fierce monsters guarding that place still, I have never dared to act rashly. As long as you help me, I will tell you the location of the card and help you get it. If the information is false, do you know how much you have to pay? Qin Lang smiled. Zhao Qingsu nodded seriously. I won't joke with my life. It's hard to survive until now, and I cherish my life more than anyone else. Okay, deal. Qin Lang made the final decision. In addition to the dark gold card position, I want all the previous benefits, and I can't miss any of them. Okay. A hint of disgust flashed in Zhao Qingsu's eyes, while Zhaozuki chuckled and snuggled into Qin Lang's arms. Brother, is good or bad? Tomorrow afternoon happens to be the day of the 5-party talks and trading. I have begun to look forward to Mr. Qin's performance at the meeting. Zhao Qingsu stood up. I'm going to ask someone to prepare dinner. Does Mr. Qin plan to stay here today? I'm looking for a few. A sister will accompany you. Forget it. I'm a person who chooses a bed. Changing places all the time makes me prone to insomnia. I'll come over at noon tomorrow. Qin Lang walked straight out. When he passed by Zhao Qingsu, he stretched out his hand and squeezed her tight buttocks. It felt great. Point of course, it can't be compared with Qzai's mushroom cap. Zhao Qingsu did not resist, but simply said, Mr. Qin, are you getting anxious now? Qin Lang laughed, said nothing, and left the shelter and cabin. Sister, your trick is very good at driving away tigers and devouring wolves. Zhaozuki's expression became serious, and the lingering smell on her body disappeared without a trace. Zhao Qingsu's attitude was indifferent. I hope this Qin Lang can bring me a little surprise. None of these men is a good thing. Zuki, you shouldn't be tempted by him, right? Zhaozuki did not hide her thoughts. Sister, he has 19 combat power. Even if there is water in it, if you squeeze it, it will still be 14 or 5. If it were you, wouldn't you be tempted? If you want to survive in the apocalypse, you must either become a strong person yourself, or rely on the strong. Isn't this what you taught me? Zhao Qingsu sighed. That's true, but this Qin Lang gives me a very bad feeling. He has been pretending to make himself appear frivolous and greedy. This kind of person is terrible. Oh, sister, don't think about things so complicated. No matter what happens tomorrow, what impact will it have on us? If Qin Lang wins, our shelter will have a backer. We can rely on him to wait for the changes. Qin Lang loses, and the 5 major the King of Heaven divides and eats it, and we make money on both sides. Mobile Fortress. I can hear their calculations in the northeast. If you win the 5-party talks tomorrow, they will have a big tree to rely on. On the contrary, if you lose, they will most likely join forces with the other 4 kings. Let's catch them all in one fell swoop and eat them, and they will make the profit. Zhu Yun's analysis was quite accurate. Qin Lang burst into laughter. Old Zhu, you have ignored the most critical point. How could I lose? Tomorrow I will take Zhao Hei and Qzai to attend the 5-party talks, and you guys will go and do this. After hearing the plan, several people's eyes became excited. Boss, do you need to play so excitingly? Laoli looked impatient. Qin Lang was happy. I'm not here to travel. I'm here to rule them. Chapter 112. That's it? There was nothing to say all night, and the next day it was noon. Qin Lang still came to the daughter country alone. This is the name Qin Lang personally gave to this shelter. Zhaozuki had been waiting at the door for a long time. When she saw that Qin Lang was alone, she stepped forward to hold his arm affectionately and said sweetly, Brother came so early. None of the 4 heavenly kings have arrived yet. Do you want me to accompany you in the asylum? Want to take a look around? You were in such a hurry yesterday that I didn't even have time to introduce the features of our shelter. Coming early shows that I'm sincere. What's so special about your shelter? Qin Lang still looked like a frivolous and impetuous person. Zhaozuki laughed angrily and pinched his arm lightly. I think you are the special one, brother. It's special, special. Don't you want to know how our shelter maintains daily resource consumption? Huh? Qin Lang suppressed a smile. Not to mention, he was really interested in this issue, because according to Zhao Qingsu, the hunting area of the Daughter Kingdom Sanctuary was deliberately squeezed by the 4 heavenly kings, and became very small, and there are hundreds of women in the Daughter Country, and eating horses, and chewing horses consumes at least 1,000 cards a day. This consumption of resources is not insignificant, and ordinary people cannot afford it. Can you let me know this? Qin Lang laughed. Question mark, 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 question mark. Zazuki smiled and said, if my brother can suppress the 4 heavenly kings at today's 5 party talks, he will become the man for my sister and me. Then we will be a family. Why is there any need to keep it secret? If he died, there would be no use knowing this secret, right? Qin Lang chuckled in his heart, but did not reveal the other party's true thoughts. Take me to see it. Come this way. Zazuki took Qin Lang around to the back of the shelter, entered a secret underground passage, walked through a several hundred meters long bluestone road, and entered a bronze gate. The scene in front of him made Qin Lang's eyes brighten. It turns out that underneath this shelter, there is a secret permanent fortification, which not only has water, electricity, lighting, but also various facilities. What comes into view are patches of mature or semi-ripe food, fruits, and vegetables, which can be seen on a daily basis. Almost all the food bought at the vegetable market is available here, which is enough to sustain the daily food consumption of everyone in the shelter. Awesome. When did you start farming? Since discovering this underground palace, my sister has secretly trained a group of professional botanists and agriculturists to cultivate the seeds. If we expected to kill monsters and explode cards, we would have starved to death for 800 years. Zazuki grabbed a cucumber and handed it to Qin Lang. Try this fruit cucumber. It tastes great. Qin Lang took a bite and nodded repeatedly. The cucumber was not only crispy and raw, but also sweet and juicy. It tasted like sugar cane. It's delicious. I'm not lying to you. When I leave later, my brother will pack some for the 4 sisters and the 2 brothers to try. No reward for no merit. I, Qin Lang, am not someone who takes things from others for nothing. I think you need this, so I will exchange this for you. Qin Lang took out a thick stack of white and green cards and handed them to Zazuki. When Zazuki looked at them, a trace of joy and shyness suddenly flashed in her eyes. Brother, you are so annoying. How did you know we are short of this? Qin Lang laughed loudly. That's for sure. You can grow vegetables and fruits, but you can also grow sanitary napkins? There are so many ladies in the shelter, so this thing must be missing. That's right. What Qin Lang gave out was a bunch of women's products, also known as Fizi. After wandering around the underground planting field for a while, someone reported that the king of the North Ahad was here. Let's go. Let me meet the king of Changteng City. Back on the ground, dozens of burly and well-equipped men appeared in the distance. The leader was a bold man. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 112. That's it. His upper body was naked, and his lower body was wearing a pair of apricot sports pants. His dark upper body was full of muscles and scars. At first glance, he was a master who was good at close combat, with a combat power of 9500. Zhao Qingsu was talking to him. When she saw Qin Lang and his sister coming out, she smiled and called them over. Ahad, time is running out. I didn't have time to introduce you to him. This is the special friend I'm talking about. Qin language Ahad looked over and narrowed his eyes. Boy, I don't care who you are. When the vine comes, you have to call up if it's a dragon, or lie down if it's a tiger. Don't think that you don't have to go to bed, because Zhao Qingsu is supporting you. Please tell me how many people you brought to Changteng this time. Qin Lang laughed angrily. Baldao, I'm not the kind of person who likes to fight and kill. Eyelines give you a chance to reorganize your vocabulary. You speak to me properly. If there's something I don't like to hear, I'll kill it directly. You. As soon as these words were spoken, the scene fell into deathly silence. Even Zhao Qingsu and Zazuki were stunned. This is too fierce. Declare war directly. Ahad frowned and plucked his ears. Huh. Say it again. What do you want from me? Huh. Well. Qin Lang sighed forcefully. I gave you a chance, but you didn't use it. Why don't you live well? Why do you have to seek death? The words fell. Qin Lang took action boldly, and more than a dozen black tentacles instantly restrained Ahad tightly. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not break away from the terrifying tentacles. Ahad was shocked and shouted angrily, wait a minute. I'm Ahad, king of the North Heaven. If you dare to touch me, I guarantee you won't be able to see the sun tomorrow. There's not a word I like to hear. Go to hell. Qin Lang shook his head and bundled his right hand. Don't want. With a puff sound, Ahad was crushed alive by the tentacles and turned into pieces of corpses on the ground. Qin Lang sarcastically said, Northern King Ahad, that's it? Ah. This Everyone was dumbfounded. Sister Zhao Qingsu's face was at 10. They never dreamed that Qin Lang, a jovial man, would be so ruthless and kill her directly. This was completely beyond her plan. Old boss, damn you. How dare you kill our boss? I will fight you. The man who was obviously the second in command under King Bishan roared and was about to take action. A younger brother beside him pulled him nervously. Brother, don't be impulsive. This man's combat effectiveness is 19. Wah, what? 19. The second in command was dumbfounded. You. Qin Lang pointed to the second in command. From now on, you are the boss of the Northern Sanctuary, and I'm your boss. You have to listen to my orders. Is there any problem? The second in command was frightened and nodded quickly. Yes, I will obey your orders and everything. What are you doing so stupidly? Why don't you hurry up and call someone? Boss. Dozens of elites shouted in unison, their eyes full of awe. Not bad. Qin Lang showed a satisfied smile. In civilized times, people have always said that tea is cold, let alone in this apocalyptic world where human life is like a piece of grass. It's been another month before I know it. Qingsu, have you decided whether you want to marry my son? What is so bad about my son that makes you hate him so much? Qin Lang had just put Ahat's body into the space ring when a loud voice sounded from the door. Chapter 113. The Kings Gather. Qin Lang turned around and saw a group of people walking in. The middle-aged man at the head had a beard, his face was full of scars and pimples, and his eyes were sharp and murderous. He is the King of the West, Lord Hang. Zhaozuki reminded in a low voice. Master Hang is here. Zhao Qingsu smiled and said, I have said many times that your son is very good, but he is not suitable for me, Mr. Hang laughed and said, oh, if you don't want to marry my son, that's fine. Then marry me. I, the King of West Heaven, and you, the King of Zongshan, should be considered a good match, right? Zhao Qingsu smiled and said nothing. Mr. Hang looked around and asked the second in command, today is a big day for the 5-party talks. Why didn't Ahat come? The second in command glanced at Qin Lang cautiously, and for a moment he didn't know how to answer. Zhao Qingsu smiled and said, Ahat comes and leaves again. Leave? Where did this kid go? Mr. Hang was a little confused. This is not a civilized era. If you feel bored at a party, you can leave early and go to a nightclub. It's extremely hot outside and there are monsters everywhere. Ahat has returned to his hometown. Zhao Qingsu thought for a while and replied, huh? Go back to your hometown, Mr. Hang was completely confused. Zhaozuki pointed to the bloodstains and the pile of minced meat on the ground. Yeah, right next to you. What you are stepping on seems to be the heart of the Ahat. Mr. Hang was startled and raised his feet. Sure enough, he found that his slippers were stained with a piece of human internal organs. What do you mean? Qin Lang laughed so hard that he raised his hand and pinched Zhaozuki's buttocks. How should I put it? The touch was a little different from his sister's, but it was still quite tempting. Hang Yi, the King of the West, right? Qin Lang suppressed his smile and said, Zhao Qingsu, Zhaozuki is my woman. Please stop beating them to avoid getting yourself into trouble. Also, starting from today, the Western Asylum will pay me a certain amount every month. The amount of cards. How do you usually collect those small shelters? Add 20 to the basis. Mr. Hang was stunned. He stared at Qin Lang with a look that looked like a fool. Boy, are you okay? Do you want to listen to what you are saying? I don't want to repeat it a second time. Just kneel down and thank me if you understand. Qin Lang raised the corner of his mouth. Fuck. Mr. Hang laughed angrily. Zhao Qingsu, where did you find this idiot? He is so humorous. Zhao Qingsu smiled and said nothing, and Zhaozuki smiled and said, Master Hang, I advise you to be careful when you speak. Brother Qin Lang has a bad temper. Be careful to follow in the footsteps of Ahat, Master Hang. At this time, a man wearing a combat power appeared detective behind Mr. Hang and whispered, this guy's combat power is 19. What? 19, Mr. Hang gasped. Is it broken? It's not broken. I tested it several times. What the hell? Mr. Hang's aura instantly weakened by 6 to 7 points. Looking at the pool of blood on the ground, he took a few steps back and said cautiously, Ahat, were you killed? I asked you to kneel down and thank me. Don't you understand me? Do you want me to treat your ears? Qin Lang's words were not loud, but they were so loud that everyone's heads were buzzing. However, Master Han did not dare to talk back in the face of such a provocation, because he did not know how much water Qin Lang had in his 19 combat power, but taking a step back, and saying that, even if there was 30% water, it was not in point. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 113. The gathering of heavenly kings. This existence can be matched by the King of Heaven who has just passed 10,000 battles. Mr. Han hesitated. He was very confused. I'm no longer patient, so go die too. Qin Lang raised his right arm, and just as he was about to take action, a voice came from outside. I heard that a top team of strong men has come from Changteng. Are you the captain? Seeing the Southern King dinosaur strutting into the arena, Mr. Han seemed to have grasped a life-saving straw and hurriedly said, Brother Dinosaur. Dinosaurs, as the name suggests, are extremely tall, measuring 2.7 to 8 meters tall. They are completely out of the scope of normal human body shapes. Their bloated bodies send out danger signals all the time. Of course, this risk is relative. Qin Lang was not afraid at all. Even the 8-power monster in the mushroom cave was killed by his bug. How could he be afraid of this humanoid dinosaur? The dinosaur looked down at Qin Lang, frowned and said, 19 combat power. I have to say that your combat power is indeed very high. But you know best how much water is in it. Don't think that you can scare us simply with numbers. Qin Lang happily said, then do you want to try how much water I have? The dinosaur laughed. Are you scared of me? You fucking think my dinosaur is scared? As he spoke, the dinosaur's body began to grow dark golden scales, and his body also deformed at any time. In just a few seconds, he changed from a giant to a Tyrannosaurus Rex. His huge head came to Qin Lang with drool dripping. Yours, the meat must be very fragrant. Qin Lang smiled contemptuously. I'm afraid you don't have such good teeth. Brother Dinosaur. Zhao Qingsu came forward in time and said, today is the day of the 5-party talks. There is no need to shout and kill as soon as they meet. Changteng City originally had a population of tens of millions, but now only tens of thousands are dead. I would say stop internal friction and think about how to resist together present and future disasters. HMPH. For your sake, I won't argue with this guy. It's just 19 combat power. Isn't it amazing? The dinosaur retreated and returned to human form with a face full of sarcasm. 5-party talks are bullshit. 4-party talks are better. Luohan, this fake, died for a good thing. I told you long ago that he has no real ability, but you didn't believe it. I don't know where you got a bunch of messy cards to support your combat power. Crack, 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 crack. When everyone was confronting each other, a strange sound suddenly came from outside. Zhao Qingsu's face changed. The tyrant is here. That's his centipede throne. Zhao Zuki was obviously nervous, and the hand holding Qin Lang trembled, and her words were full of disgust and fear from the bottom of her heart. Crack, 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 crack. The sound was getting closer and closer, and soon a centipede-shaped monster with countless human limbs came into view, with an extremely weird shape. If you look closely, you will find that this is not a monster, but a group of women. The joints between the face and the buttocks are artificially made of metal with special locks. 2 people are side by side in one section, and there are dozens of sections. No wonder Zaozuki is so disgusted. It is hard to imagine what kind of terrible world these women who make up the artificial centipede live in. A man covered with heavy armor and wearing a monster mask is sitting in the sedan chair on the back of the centipede. Tyrant, Han. Yi and the dinosaurs all bowed to the tyrant. Obviously, the so-called 5 kings are just a cover, and the actual ruler is the East King. Tyrant. Chapter 114. Talking about collapse. The tyrant raised his hand to stop the artificial centipede, and his tyrannical gaze swept over everyone present. Almost everyone touched by the gaze would feel fear from the bottom of his heart, and Qin Lang was no exception. But he quickly dispelled this emotion, and at the same time, made a preliminary assessment of the tyrant. He should have mastered some kind of talent or skill that can amplify people's emotions. Why didn't Ahad come? A horse. Deep voice came from the monster mask. Ahad. was killed by this kid. Master Han pointed at Qin Lang. The tyrant looked over in surprise and tapped the right side of the mask. When he saw the number given by the combat power detector inside the mask, he was slightly startled. He laughed and jumped off the sedan. This little brother is very powerful. I wonder why he comes to Changteng. Tyrants are indeed cruel, but they are not stupid. Point. No matter how much water Qin Lang has in his 19th combat power, he doesn't want to break up with him unless he has to. In comparison, Dinosaur seems too impulsive. I will settle in Changteng for a while. What advice does King Dangshan have? Qin Lang narrowed his eyes and said. Point. The tyrant laughed. On behalf of the Eastern Sanctuary, I welcome this friend. King Su, I must criticize you. Why didn't you tell me in advance that such a great expert came to the sanctuary? Also, today is the 5-party talks. Do you want us to talk at the door? Zhao Qingsu turned sideways and said, it's true that I didn't entertain you well enough. Please invite some of you. Qin Lang smiled and followed Zhao Qingsu in. Master Han and the dinosaur looked at each other, then looked at the tyrant. Tyrant, this newcomer is not an easy person to get along with. He killed Arhat as soon as he arrived at Changteng. Han Li reminded with a smile. The tyrant smiled lightly. In this apocalyptic world, where there is no law, the strong are respected. Isn't it strange that the Arhat was killed because his skills were inferior to others? Isn't this just a good thing for him? Give ground to this newcomer? It would be great if things are really like what you said. I'm afraid that just one piece of land won't satisfy his appetite. Mr. Han is the oldest here, and his words are a bit strange. Old. Han, just say what you want to say, Mr. Han leaned over and lowered his voice and said, I mean, it would be best if he is willing to live in peace with us. If he is not willing, or is too ambitious, why don't we attack first and gather the strength of the 3 of us? Isn't it better? Can't deal with a wild boy. How stupid. The tyrant scolded. Can't you see that Zhao Qingsu has already formed an alliance with him? 3 against 1. Our chances of winning are naturally very high, but if it is 3 against 2, what are our chances of winning? Mr. Han frowned. What about you? Listen to what he has to say and then make a decision. The tyrant finished speaking and walked straight in. Point. The only living room in N's cabin is air conditioned and has a cup of fragrant tea in front of everyone. Now that everyone is here, our 5-party talks can begin. Zhao Qingsu made a gesture of invitation. If there are any important issues that need to be solved urgently, you can raise them as before. This month, let's let our guests speak first. Mr. Qin Lang, please. The tyrant smiled lightly. Qin Lang put down the teacup. Oh, you're welcome then. I came to Changteng this time to do only one thing, and that is to integrate the 5 major forces of Changteng into one big force, and by the way, absorb other small and medium-sized shelters in the city. This will make it easier for future. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 114. Negotiation collapse. Develop. In the apocalyptic wasteland, the final result of fighting each other can only be defeated by monsters one by one. Are you crazy? Mr. Han was the first to jump out and object. Do you really think that with 19 combat powers, you are invincible? Why should we hand over our authority? Why should we, the 5 great kings, live in Changteng as cool and unrestrained as they want to integrate? That's right. People can be arrogant, but there must be a limit. If you come up, you will dominate the vines. Who gave you the courage? Dinosaur sneered repeatedly. The last person to speak was the tyrant. He knocked on the table lightly and said, if we all agree to the integration, Mr. Qin, is your next plan to kill us all? Qin Lang laughed. I'm just saying that the purpose of this trip is not to discuss with you. Whether you agree or not makes no difference to me. As for whether to kill or not, it depends on your attitude and my mood. Ha 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 ha. Mr. Han laughed wildly. Guys, you have also heard that this kid is so crazy that he wants to consolidate forces as soon as he enters the city. It seems that we have to give him some color. Okay, the tyrant tapped his fingertips on the table. You are so arrogant. You have never taken us seriously. With all due respect, everyone here is rubbish. Qin Lang hugged Zhao Qingsu's shoulders. Of course, except you, Zhao. Qingsu smiled bitterly. All plans were no longer under control from the moment Qin Lang took action to kill Luo Han. Who knows what will happen next? Zhao Qingsu, have you formed an alliance with this guy? Master Han said. So what? You guys forced me to do this. Zhao Qingsu gritted her teeth and said, since the beginning of winter, you have been infiltrating into my territory overtly and covertly. If this continues, the central territory will fall sooner or later in your hands. Instead of being slowly devoured by you, it is better to hand it over and surrender to the new master. Zhao Qingsu decided to take a gamble. The bet was her life. Mr. Qin, don't we have room for negotiation? The tyrant didn't want to go to war with Qin Lang from the bottom of his heart. Sorry, no, Qin. Lang tilted his head, smiling. While we were sitting here chatting, my people had already gone to liberate your shelters. Before dark, all 5 shelters will be liberated. Okay. Since you've gone too far, don't blame us for being ruthless. Leo Hong, dinosaur, the tyrant shouted, and the 3 kings stood up at the same time. Zhao Qingsu lowered her voice and reminded Qin Lang, the strength of these 3 heavenly kings is several levels higher than that of the Ahats. Are you sure you can defeat them? 8 words, those who follow me will prosper, and those who go against me will perish. Qin Lang shook his hand, and a flying sword appeared in his palm, burning forever. In order to save time, why not let the 3 heavenly kings go together? A gentleman can be killed but not humiliated. Since you are looking for death, I will send you down, master. Han couldn't bear it anymore. After getting the approval of his 2 companions, he roared and drew out a black long knife and chopped at Qin Lang. Qin Lang raised his right hand, and the dark tentacles turned into billowing black smoke to entangle the long knife. No matter how hard Master Han tried, he couldn't pull it back. And Qin Lang stood up suddenly, and the dark tentacles turned into a long whip, whipping Master Han firmly. Seeing this, the dinosaur turned into a humanoid tyrannosaurus and bit the materialized dark tentacles. At the same time, a slender red knife appeared in the hand of the tyrant, going straight to Qin Lang's heart. You are asking for death. Don't blame others. Chapter 115, Crushing Game. This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Why are you so strong? At this point, the tyrant could not believe that he had been defeated. Qin Lang moved his fingers lightly, and the flying sword Yangren circled in the air and chopped off the tyrant's head. It's a pity that the strongest man with long vines will die with his eyes open. It's your turn next. Qin Lang slowly put away the tyrant's body and looked at Lord Han. Mr. Han got excited and hurriedly knelt down on one knee and said, Mr. Qin, I, Han Dali, am willing to do my best for you. Please let me live. It's not that Mr. Han's bones are weak, and he really can't beat him. He is as strong as a tyrant, and has been dealt with in a few strokes. He knows how much he weighs more than anyone else. I like people who know the current affairs. Qin Lang did not attack him, but looked at the humanoid Tyrannosaurus. What about you? My dinosaur can be killed, but not humiliated. The Tyrannosaurus roared toward the sky. Do you think the tyrant is the strongest one in the vine? Ha ha ha. I tell you, I'm the Tyrannosaurus. I just don't bother to compete with him for the first place. Today, I'll let you look my true strength. Along with the roars, a large number of terrifying spikes appeared on the body of the Tyrannosaurus, and Zazuka's combat power detector number was also beating crazily at a speed of 500 per second. 20,000. 25,000. 30,000. 35,000. At last. The power of Tyrannosaurus is fixed at 55. Zhao Qingsu was so frightened that her face turned pale. Combat strength, 55. His combat strength is 55. There was an uproar all around. Unexpectedly, there are still masters. Ha. Ha 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 ha. The Tyrannosaurus took a step forward. Boy, are you scared? Kneel down. I may consider sparing you. U003 CBR U003. A heavy punch hit the Tyrannosaurus in the face, and the seemingly huge and heavy body of the Tyrannosaurus immediately flew out. With a smile on his face, Qin Lang stepped on the belly of the Tyrannosaurus. Who should I ask to kneel down? Can you say it again? Brother, spare your life. The Tyrannosaurus Rex returned to its human form, clasped its palms together, and begged for mercy in a very spineless manner. Spare my life. I can do whatever you want. I don't want the territory. I don't want the card anymore. I give them all to you. What is going on? Zhao Qingsu was confused. Why is 55's combat power so weak? Qin Lang smiled and said, there is a card called Combat Power Expansion that can greatly increase a person's combat power value in a short period of time. You must have used it a lot, right? How many levels is it? Dinosaur smiled flatteringly and said, you are already 3LV3. Brother, you are really awesome. You can see it all. You are worthy of being the eldest brother. Qin Lang raised his feet and clapped his hands. Okay, since the 5 heavenly kings have surrendered to death, my goal today has been achieved. Zhao Qingsu, what do you say? Zhao Qingsu's cheeks turned red. What do you want me to say? Everything is as agreed. Qin Lang nodded and kicked the dinosaur. You and Hang Dali are waiting here. If you feel unwilling and don't want to succumb to others, you can try to escape. The dinosaur turned over and sat up and said with a serious expression, brother, what are you talking about? I, Kang Shun, am not that kind of person. From this moment on, I, Kang Shun, will be your most loyal little brother. If you ask me to go west, I will never go east. Let me go left, never right. Me too. Han Dali nodded repeatedly. Good. Qin Lang turned around and hugged Zhao Qingsu and Zhao Zuki. Let's go and run in. What's the running in? Zhao Qingsu was stunned. She really didn't understand. Of course it's to adjust the size, but could it be to adjust the relationship? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 New Year's Day. 3 hours later Qin Lang turned his back to the limp Zhao sisters and got dressed. The messy bed behind him is enough to show how exciting these 3 hours of fierce battle were. It is no exaggeration to say that the battle with the Zhao sisters was even more strenuous than killing the tyrant. Can you tell me the location of the dark gold card? Qin Lang buttoned up his clothes. Okay, I'll send the coordinates to your phone later. Zhao Qingsu sat up with difficulty, rubbed her sore legs. Her expression returned to a cold tone and asked, what are your plans next? Integrate the territory of the 5 kings and gather all the survivors. If you and Zuki are interested in managing it, you can manage it. If you are not interested, I will arrange for others. Qin Lang had already had an idea. Okay, I will be responsible for managing them. But you also know that this is the end of the world. If I don't use strong measures, they may not obey me. So, Qin Lang waved his hand. I don't really care about the life and death of those survivors. It's up to you. Use those who can be used and kill those who can't. Brother, what do my sister and I mean to you? Zhao Zuki stretched out her arms lazily and grabbed Qin Lang's clothes. Her voice was sweet. Qin Lang turned around and squatted down with a smile, pinched her chin. Don't push yourself too far. I have given you enough gifts and even made you the queen of the vines. What else do you want? Zhao Zuki smiled and said, do you want your heart? You can try, but it's very difficult. Qin Lang was in a good mood and laughed. Outside the door, seeing Qin Lang coming out, Kang Shun jumped up quickly and stood up straight. Boss, Hang Dali also quickly echoed, boss, my people will be here soon. You two will bring people to help them place the survivors. Remember, you, including the survivors, are my Qin Lang's personal property from this moment on. Who can if you dare to mess around? Don't blame me for being rude to him. Don't worry, boss. Even if you give me 100 courages, we won't dare to do anything wrong. Kang Shun nodded repeatedly. After waiting for more than an hour, the mobile fortress arrived at the shelter at a relatively smooth speed. Behind it was a huge crowd, numbering in the thousands. It is the survivors from the 4 major shelters in the southeast, northwest and northwest point. While Qin Lang was participating in the 5-party talks, Laoli led the remaining 5 people to kill the 4 shelters in the southeast, northwest, and liberated the shelters. All the processes were reported to him through spiritual communication. This seems to be a big project, but in fact it is extremely simple. The captains left behind in these shelters only have a maximum combat strength of 60,000. No matter what Leoli and the others do, they will be killed instantly, and there is no danger at all. Boss, Leo. Lee jumped down from the mobile fortress. Basically all the people who can use it are here. We killed some of them, and some of them really can't be used. Qin Lang nodded to express his understanding. Then little sister, have you eaten her up? Lin Wana smiled and stepped forward to hold Qin Lang's arm. Qin Lang smiled. Are you jealous? How stupid must I be to be jealous of them? Lin Wana shook her head gently. But have you forgotten what day it is today? Huh? What day is today? Is it special? Qin Lang was startled, and after thinking for a long time, he didn't know what day it was today. Brother, if there is no apocalypse, today is New Year's Eve. Now this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 116. New Year's Day. It's past 12 o'clock. It's the first day of the Lunar New Year. Sun Yan took out a calendar and said, Is it the first day of the new year? Qin Lang's mood suddenly became a little complicated. If there was no apocalypse, how would he spend the New Year's Day at this moment? Well, it should be the same as in previous years, buying some cooked food alone in a rental house, while scrolling through the phone, and watching the Spring Festival Gala. Since it's the first day of the Lunar New Year, it's time to celebrate the new year. Send some supplies to them, so that they can have a good new year. By the way, let me introduce to you these two people. One is named Kang Shun, and the other is named Hang Dali. From now on we can leave all the big and small matters in Longvine Shelter to them. Kang Shun said flatteringly, hello, my eldest sister-in-law, my second sister-in-law, and my third sister-in-law. Not long after, a large number of blue, green, and white cards were distributed, and the thousands of survivors who followed the mobile fortress to the shelter shed silent tears while tasting the delicious food. In the next few days, Qin Lang made a large-scale personnel assignment to the shelter. Zhao Qingsu is the well-deserved master of the sanctuary, while his sister Zhao Zuki is appointed as the leader of the daughter country. Although the two sanctuaries are close to each other, they are not connected. During this period, Qin Lang brought Kang Shun, Han Dali and a dozen captain-level figures with outstanding combat capabilities into the mobile fortress, and used the panel mirror to reconstruct their talents and skills. Although the overall combat power has declined, the combat effectiveness has improved a lot, which is more than enough to deal with the third stage monsters. After arranging everything here, Qin Lang secretly went to find the Zhao sisters, and lingered for a few days. After confirming some rules of the shelter, he picked up his pants and left. How cruel the end of the world is, Qin Lang knows better than anyone else. Although his current combat power is strong enough, if he doesn't know how to be prepared for danger in times of peace, and continue to increase your combat power, sooner or later you will be eliminated. Phase 4 is coming soon. Qin Lang retracted his gaze. No more than half a month at most. What will the environment be like in the fourth stage? We have experienced cold winters and hot summers. What else can we expect? Everyone in the car already knew that Qin Lang had the ability to foresee the future, and couldn't help asking when they heard him muttering to himself. To some extent, the fourth stage is a rest and recuperation stage, which is the so-called 3 days and 1 day off. There will be a large number of caves, underground palaces, and secret realms at that time, which is a good opportunity to improve overall strength. However, these secret realms have their own rules. If you enter before you understand the rules, it is easy to die inexplicably. Qin Lang saw that Leoli was confused, so he simply opened a small science class. For example, the rules of some secret realms are that only women are allowed to enter. If a man accidentally enters, he will be cursed and become a woman. Becoming a woman. This is not a curse, right? After being cursed, all your talents and skills will disappear. Do you still think this is nothing? Qin Lang rolled his eyes at him. Oldly waved his hand quickly. No, that's nonsense. I'm just giving an example. You may not encounter the situation I mentioned. The rules of each secret realm are different. Qin Lang lit a cigarette. The real safe area should appear. We have to seize a safe area as a long-term settlement. It's a bit early to talk about this now. Take your time. Ding Yuan, how far are we from the apostles? Just Ahead, less than 20 kilometers. Ding Yuan in the cab turned her head and said, "Happy New Year to everyone. Good health." Chapter 117. Half a month later. Run back by yourself. Qin Lang's brain felt a stabbing pain, and he hurriedly used transposition to change his position with Zhu Yun, and said to several people, "The curse has taken effect. I may have to sleep for a few days. Don't tell anyone about my sleeping." After saying that, Qin Lang's eyes darkened, and he fell into endless darkness. Soon, heavy footsteps were heard outside the mobile fortress, but it was Zhu Yun who had turned into a giant bear and returned. "Boss, fainted again. Then where should we go next?" Zhu Yun asked. Everyone looked at Lin Weiner. She had been with Qin Lang for the longest time, and was recognized as the second in command. Although Aoli is very strong, it is recognized that he has no brains. Go back to the Changvin shelter. Lin Weiner helped Qin Lang into the room. "Yanzi, tell Zhao Qingsu later that no matter what happens, no one is allowed to approach the mobile fortress, even if all the people in the shelter are dead." Time passed slowly. I don't know how long it took. Qin Lang finally woke up from his long sleep, and what came into view was Lin Weiner's familiar face. "You're awake." Lin Weiner's face was full of joy. "How long have I been unconscious this time?" Qin Lang sat up, very weak, but he could clearly feel that his physical strength was slowly recovering. "You were unconscious for 15 days. What? Half a month?" Qin Lang's eyes widened. The second time he was only in coma for 3 days, but this time the time was extended 5 times. Then next time Qin Lang suddenly had a headache. The apostle's skills are indeed ridiculously strong, but the side effects are too great. "Did anything happen while I was in coma?" Qin Lang lay down again and patted forehead. "A lot of things have indeed happened. Which aspect do you want to hear first?" Lin Weiner obediently lay down next to Qin Lang. "Which has Phase 4 begun?" "Well, let's start. On the 5th day of your coma, the fire monster in the sky exploded. Many fragments fell to the ground. An underground palace crashed near the shelter. No one who went in to explore came out alive, including Zazuki. The underground palace has appeared." Qin Lang rubbed his face. "Going into the underground palace rashly. What is the difference between this and committing suicide? What else is there?" Zhao Qingsu goes outside every day to ask for permission, but is stopped by Yanzi. But one thing is that she manages the shelter very well. The population has grown from 4,000 at the beginning to more than 6,000 now. 7 days ago, the shelter encountered a corpse wave, and nearly 1,000 people died. Lao Zhu and Ying Yuan were responsible for the finishing work. One after another, Lin Weiner said one thing after another. "The most important thing is actually only one thing. The 4th stage of the end of the world has begun. Let's go out and take a look." Qin Lang got out of bed and hugged Lin Weiner into his arms. "I've worked hard on you these days. Isn't this what I should do?" Lin Weiner smiled and punched him. "Not only me, Xiaoxu and Yanzi are also taking care of you wholeheartedly." Inside the shelter, in front of the mobile fortress, a 3-meter-tall Tyrannosaurus blocked Zhao Qingsu's way. The Tyrannosaurus snorted. "Zhao Qingsu, I have told you many times. During the boss's retreat, no one is allowed to enter. Even you, the Queen of Longvine, are not qualified to enter. Go away." Zhao Qingsu said angrily. "Kang Shun, get out of here. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. I have to see the boss today no matter what." Chapter 118. Childhood in the Underground Palace. Zhao Qingsu coughed up a mouthful of blood. "Where is the underground palace? Take me to see it." Qin Lang walked straight past her. There is no rule without rules. Even women who have fought fiercely are no exception. To the west of the sanctuary, a few kilometers away, stood a huge palace. Human beings look extremely small in front of this palace. If Zuki is not dead yet, I will definitely be able to rescue her. Qin Lang came to the stone tablet on the right side of the underground palace. "This is the complete rulebook." "What is a rulebook?" Lin Weiner was a little curious. On the day the underground palace appeared, a few of them took the time to come over and read it, but the words on it were no different from the heavenly book, and they didn't recognize a single word. "It's the rules for entering this underground palace. I remember there are some scholars cards. I'll look for them." Qin Lang took out a lot of gold cards and colored cards from the storage space and rummaged through them. He quickly found 7 or 8 golden text researchers and tore them apart one by one to study point. Although the text researcher only increased a small amount of combat power, the rulebook will be very important in the future. Qin Lang will naturally not leave it to others to learn. Again, no one has it as much as having it himself. The heavenly book on the stone tablet becomes clearer and clearer as the level of the text researcher increases to level 3. The name of this underground palace is childhood. Qin Lang pointed to the rulebook and explained, after entering childhood, the age will randomly change to 6 to 10 years old. Rule 1. No outside weapons may be used. Rule 2. Crying will attract hags. Rule 3. Avoid at night. There are only 3 rules. Low level underground palace. Qin Lang nodded secretly. In the previous life, the underground palace was divided into low level, medium level, high level, super high level, and nightmare level according to the number of rules. 15 rules are low level, 610 are medium level, 1115 are high level, 1620 are super high level, and more than 20 rules are nightmare level. Maybe Qin Lang had too few channels to receive information in his previous life, and he had never heard of anyone coming out alive from a super high level underground palace. You continue to go back to preside over government affairs, and we will go into the underground palace to find Zuki, Qin Lang said to Zhao Qingsu. Zhao Qingsu was stunned. I want to go with you. If possible, Zuki has been trapped in there for so long, and her life and death are uncertain. As a sister, she must be very worried, so let her go with us. Lin Wana gently pulled Qin Lang's sleeve. I just hit you. Do you hate me? Qin Lang suddenly asked. Zhao Qingsu was stunned and shook her head. No, I did something wrong myself, and you are right to punish me. Your awareness is not bad, so let's go. And without delay, Qin Lang nodded to the others and walked straight into the underground palace. 8 figures, plus a cat and a mushroom, were soon drowned by the light of the underground palace. The strong dizziness lasted for more than 10 seconds. When he opened his eyes again, Qin Lang saw several companions around him and couldn't help laughing. Oldly, ha ha ha. You were so fat when you were a child. Old. Li looked confused, looked down at his chubby hands, and then realized what happened. He said in a baby voice, fuck, I really got smaller. 6 years old. Wow, Qin Lang, you were so cute when you were a child. The same baby voice sounded, and when he turned around, it was a little girl with a rosy face like a porcelain doll. From the shrunken clothes, it can be judged that she is Lin Wana. Chapter 119. The milking group attacks. There were 7 little milk babies present, all aged between 6 and 8 years old. The only older girl was Zhao Qingsu. She was lucky enough to be 10 years old. Not only was she much taller than them, her strength was also the least reduced. As for Zhao Hei and Qze, they are not restricted by the rules and remain the same. Obviously the rules here are only for humans. Boss, I feel like I don't have much strength. Little Bold oldly patted him head. It's normal to have no energy. Qin Lang explained to everyone that those who are randomly aged 6 years old will have their combat effectiveness reduced to only 20 to 30% and will be increased by 10% for each year they go up. At an age like Zhao Qingsu's, he can display up to 60% to 70% of his strength in his prime. Otherwise, luck is also a kind of strength. We may have to rely on you next, Qin Lang glanced at Zhao Qingsu, who was a head taller than him, and said deliberately. Zhao Qingsu curled her lips and said, it's better to find my sister quickly. Don't worry, I have to tell you something first. This underground palace is probably not just ours. If there are other teams entering the local underground palace at the same time, we are likely to encounter them. What do you mean? Several people had strange expressions. Qin Lang picked up a branch and drew a few circles on the ground. The circles represent the underground palace. Although the locations are different, as long as the rules of the underground palace are the same, they will eventually enter the same space. It's equivalent to a copy in the game, Chen Zhu said with a milky voice. Almost. Qin Lang nodded. Who do you think researched this stuff? Laoli sighed. Find someone first. Do you all remember the rules of the underground palace? Of course, you can't cry, you can't use external weapons, and you need to hide at night. Walk Qin Lang raised his hand, and the 7 little babies immediately followed the eldest child Zhao Qingsu and walked forward. /U003 CBR /U003E From a geographical point of view, this is a forest. The color is not gloomy, but very bright. There are many unknown fruits with bright colors on the trees. You can't touch the things here, but try not to touch them, especially the food. Qin Lang reminded everyone, while carefully looking around. Although he had returned from rebirth, it was his first time entering the underground palace, so nervousness was unavoidable. After walking all the way for about half an hour, Zhu Yun suddenly stopped him. "Boss, I made a discovery." Qin Lang turned around and walked over, and found several palm-sized child models appearing in Zhu Yun's hands. They seemed to be made of plastic, and were carved lifelike. The expressions on each model's face were different. "It's so childlike. It reminds me of the plastic toy soldiers I used to play with." Laoli sighed with emotion. "Look, there are many ahead, Zhao." Qingsu discovered that the further he walked, the more character models were scattered around. What was frightening was that the expressions on their faces were indescribably weird. "I am a little scared." Lin Wana held Qin Lang's hand and trembled slightly. "It's strange. I'm usually not so courageous. As people become smaller, not only does their combat power decrease, but their tolerance for fear also decreases." Qin Lang also clearly felt that something was wrong. His heart had been pounding since he entered the underground palace. He was not so nervous when he beat the big head in the mushroom cave. "Ah, what is that? Be careful," Zhao Qingsu suddenly exclaimed, and everyone looked around. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 119. Milkman Group Attacks. I saw a mist appearing in front of me for no reason, and dozens of figures appeared in the mist, slowly approaching. "Get ready to meet the enemy." Qin Lang stood in front of everyone, and stood side by side with Zhao Qingsu. The sound of bones rubbing against each other continued, and a few minutes later, a group of rotting zombies came out of the fog with a stench. After discovering the target, they howled and pounced on them. "Ice pick!" Zhao Qingsu roared, waved his fist, and hit the zombies with more than a dozen ice picks, killing several of them on the spot. These zombies are so meaty. Experts can tell if there are any as soon as they take action. Zhao Qingsu only used one attack to measure the combat power of the zombie group. There must be at least 5,000 of them, which is difficult to kill. A bad premonition arose in his mind. Although his sister Zazuki brought many combat-effective followers with her when she entered the underground palace, if the monsters they encountered were at the same level as the zombies in front of them, they would not be able to defeat them at all. Ouch. Zhu Yun looked up to the sky and screamed, transforming into a little milk bear more than 1 meter tall. He looked at his mini paws and showed a helpless expression, but then rushed into the zombie group and started fighting. Although he was just a little milk bear, Zhao Qingsu was astonished by his fighting prowess. He easily wiped out more than a dozen zombies. To be fair, even if Chen Zhu added some buff halos to her, she would not be able to kill so cleanly. Everyone in Qin Lang's team is a master. Although the zombies were wiped out, the fog became thicker and thicker, and the roars of monsters that could be heard from time to time made everyone's hearts rise to their throats. "What's in front of you?" Qin Lang found a black shadow in front of him. He wanted to use a combat power detector to detect it, but found that it was completely useless in the underground palace. "Let me cast a stone and ask for directions." Laoli took out a stone he picked up along the way and threw it at the black shadow. Just hearing a bang, the black figure was shaken by the smash and then turned around and rushed towards them. It was a huge bird with an extremely terrifying appearance. Its body was more than 2 meters tall. In the eyes of Qin Lang and the milk babies, it was no different from a giant. It spread its black wings and shot out dozens of feathers. Holy light shield. Sun Yan took a step forward, raised her hands to hold up a light shield, and all the feather arrows that hit the light shield were bounced away. Seeing that the attack failed, the big bird became more and more irritable. He jumped into the air and raised his neck suddenly, as if he was planning a big move. Upon seeing this, Laoli threw stones continuously, and the stones were like cannonballs. It hit the big bird hard, not only interrupting its spell casting, but also damaging one of its wings. The big bird lost its center of gravity and fell to the ground screaming. Ouch. The little milk bear transformed by Zhu Yun and the little lizard man transformed by Ding Yuan pounced on him immediately. Under the attack of the two, the big bird died on the spot. Oh. Good luck, boss. Color card. Zhu Yun shouted happily. Good. Qin Lang simply expressed his satisfaction, rested for a while, and then continued to move forward. About half an hour later, everyone walked out of the foggy area and saw a beautiful scene. Wooden houses, rockeries, streams, and various little beasts with countless arms, legs, heads, or eyes next to the wooden house. Several children were eating, and they all showed surprised expressions when they saw Qin Lang and his party. Chapter 120 Ghost Woman. As surprised as these children were the 8 people from Qin Lang, because they discovered that these children were all little black children, obviously from another country. The leader of the black boys suddenly shouted, followed by more than a dozen black boys rushing out of the wooden house, each holding a small firearm in their hands. They pulled the trigger without any intention of communicating point bullets are coming. Grass. Qin Lang was furious. He waved his right arm and the black energy condensed into a huge shield, blocking all the bullets. Kill. These sons of bitches. Laoli and the others were extremely angry. How could they kill them as soon as they met? You don't need to take action. Qin Lang's eyes were sinister, and as his arm shook, a large cloud of dark green poisonous mist spurted from his fingertips into the sky, and then enveloped the black children. The leader of the black boy was shocked and tried to use flames to dispel the poisonous mist, but what he didn't expect was that Qin Lang's deadly poisonous cloud was a dark gold skill. How could it be dispelled by ordinary flames? Even if some of it is burned away, it will not affect the power of the poisonous cloud at all. Question mark 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 question mark. Ahem. Ahem. For a moment, the black boys were enveloped in a poisonous cloud and coughed. Soon the coughing turned into wails and screams, and they cried bitterly and rolled on the ground in the poisonous mist. Qin Lang dispersed the touch of darkness and looked at the black children and the poisonous mist with cold eyes. His pupils suddenly condensed, and he raised his hand to signal everyone to retreat. In that poisonous mist, a huge body appeared at some point. It was about the same size as a big bird, but its body structure was wider. The creature ignored the poisonous mist and came to Hei, waving the crutch in his hand to kill him due to overdose. The black children, who were wailing and crying due to the poisonous gas, were turned into dolls. It's a hag. Biting cold air spread from the top of my head to the ends of my toes. It turns out that the dolls they met on the road were all transformed by explorers. The poisonous fog gradually dissipated, and people finally saw the true face of the ghost woman clearly. She was an old lady with abscesses on her face, and her twisted crutches were covered with various dolls. The hag seems to have its own rules for the selection of dolls. It only chooses some that are approved by it, and does not even look at the rest. Woo. After finishing all this, the ghost woman looked at everyone deeply, said nothing, turned around and walked deeper. Zhao Qingsu shouted, "Wait a minute. Give me my sister back." What? Qin Lang was stunned. "Have you seen Zuki, Zhao?" Qingsu's eyes were red with anxiety, and she nodded heavily. "Yes, it's on its crutch. I recognize Zuki's clothes. It turned Zuki into a doll." Qin Lang grabbed Zhao Qingsu, who was trying to attack the ghost woman. "Don't be impulsive. It didn't attack us, which means it is not a monster, but a guardian of the rules. If you attack it rashly, the end will be tragic. Qingsu, don't be swayed by your emotions. Since we are here, we will definitely find a way to save Zuki." Lin Weiner also advised, "You have to believe in us and Qin Lang." Zhao Qingsu was speechless and bowed to Qin Lang for a long time. "I'm sorry. I didn't control myself just now. I will never do this again." Qin Lang nodded. Zuki was turned into a doll. To a certain extent, it is good news. It means that Zuki just broke the rules here and may not be without help. Let's look around to see if there is any way to turn the doll into a doll. Ways to get back to people. /U003 OK. After a group of people walked into the wooden house, they discovered that the wooden house was not a local building in the underground palace, but a gold card building, because there were many high-tech products in it, such as televisions, central air conditioning, and so on. The room was not only messy, but also had a special smell mixed with cologne, which was very unpleasant. Ding Yuan opened the window and let out her breath for a while before the smell disappeared. What are you reading? Qin Lang looked at Chen Zhu, who was holding a thick book in her hand and reading it carefully. This is a diary written by one of them, in English. Show me. Qin Lang took the book. This is indeed a diary, recording their experiences after entering the underground palace. The recorder is a scholar in this team. Qin Lang carefully flipped through the books, and it took him 2 full hours to finish reading all the notes. He smiled and said, Kingsu, if what is recorded in this book is true, then your sister will be saved. What does it say above? It says that anyone who breaks the rules will be turned into a doll. The way to turn the doll into a human again is actually very simple. That is to find an altar and sacrifice the monster's heart to the hag. Qin Lang pointed to one of the lines of text and said, however, the strength of the monster is far beyond our imagination. In order to restore the boss to human form, we forcibly conquered the monster. As a result, not only did we not succeed in conquering it, but we also lost 13 people. There were more than 100 people when we came in, but now there are only a dozen of us left. Oh, I really want to go home. According to the book, the monster's habitat is in the west, and the altar is in the north. It's getting late now, so let's rest here for the night and set out tomorrow morning. We'll kill the monster first, and then go directly to the altar. Zhao Qingsu looked at the dim sky outside, and could only nod in agreement. In the evening, the forest was silent and eerie. Fortunately, the power supply system of the wooden house was intact, and the room was as bright as day, which more or less dispelled some of the fear of being in an unknown world. Hallo. Lee took a puff of cigarette and exhaled it heavily. Qin Lang couldn't help but joked, Old Lee, you should really look in the mirror to see what you look like now. You've become a little baby, but you're still addicted to cigarettes. Old Lee laughed. Smoking is a way to relieve stress. It has nothing to do with whether my body is big or small. Do you want to have one? Forget it. I don't want to smoke now. Qin Lang waved his hand to refuse and got back to the point. The third rule of the underground palace is that you need to hide at night. This means that there may be some creatures attacking here at night. Tonight, 2 people will be on guard in a group. Zhao Qingsu and I will form a team. The rest of us will form our own teams. Those of us who are not on duty will take the time to rest. We have seen so many storms, but we must not overturn in this underground palace. Everyone took it seriously and fell asleep one after another after dinner. Qin Lang and Zhao Qingsu were on the first shift. Qin Lang sat leisurely on the rattan chair, with Zhao Heli lying in his arms and Qze squatting at his feet. He was not lonely at all. Zhao Qingsu, who was standing by the side, hugged her curled legs with both hands and sat at the door with empty eyes, wondering what she was thinking. Qin Lang was not in the mood to talk, so the 2 of them remained silent until they were about to change shifts. I once advised Zuki not to take risks in such a strange place, but she refused to listen. Zhao Qingsu suddenly said. She said that she had to become stronger so that you could look at her in the eye instead of just treating her as a bed partner. Qin Lang and his 8 companions were as surprised as these children, because they found that these children were all little black kids, obviously from another country. The black kid in the lead suddenly shouted, and then more than a dozen black kids rushed out of the wooden house, each holding a small gun in their hands, and they pulled the trigger directly without any intention of communicating. Bullets splashed in ink. Fuck. Qin Lang was furious. He waved his right arm, and the black hair condensed into a huge shield, blocking all the bullets. Kill these sons of bitches. Laoli and the others were extremely angry. How could they kill each other as soon as they met? You don't have to do it. Qin Lang's eyes were sinister. As his arm shook, a large group of dark green poisonous mist gushed from his fingertips to the sky, and then enveloped the group of black kids. The leader of the black kids was shocked and tried to use fire to disperse the poisonous mist, but he didn't expect that Qin Lang's deadly poisonous cloud was a dark gold skill. How could it be dispersed by ordinary flames? Even if some of it was burned, it would not affect the power of the poisonous cloud at all. Cough. Cough cough. For a moment, the black children who were enveloped by the poisonous cloud all coughed. Soon the coughing turned into wailing and screaming. They cried bitterly in the poisonous fog and rolled on the ground. Qin Lang dispersed the touch of darkness, looked at the black children and the poisonous fog with cold eyes. His pupils suddenly condensed and raised his hand to signal everyone to retreat. In the poisonous fog, a huge body appeared at some point, with a body shape similar to that of a big bird, but with a wider body structure. The creature ignored the poisonous fog and came to the black children, waving the crutches in his hand to turn the black children who were wailing and crying because of inhaling too much poison gas into dolls. It's a ghost woman. A piercing chill spread from the top of the head to the end of the toes. It turned out that the dolls they met on the roads were all transformed by explorers. The poisonous fog gradually dissipated, and people finally saw the true face of the ghost woman. It was an old lady with a face full of pus-filled sores, and all kinds of dolls were hung on her twisted cane. The ghost woman seemed to have her own rules for choosing dolls. She only picked some that she recognized, and didn't even look at the rest. Woo. After the ghost woman finished all this, she looked at everyone with a deep look, said nothing, and turned to walk deep as awakens shouted, "Wait a minute. Give my sister back to me." "What?" Qin Lang was stunned. "Did you see Zuki?" Awakens's eyes turned red with anxiety, and she nodded heavily. "Yes, on its cane. I recognize Zuki's clothes. It turned Zuki into a doll." Qin Lang grabbed Awakens, who was trying to attack the ghost woman. "Don't be impulsive. It didn't attack us, which means it's not a monster, but a guardian of the rules. If you attack it rashly, the end will be miserable. Kingsu, don't be swayed by your emotions. Since we are here, we will definitely find a way to save Zuki." Lin Wana also advised, "You have to believe in us, believe in Qin Lang." Zhao Qingsu was speechless and bowed to Qin Lang for a long time. "I'm sorry. I didn't control myself just now. I will never do this again." Qin Lang nodded. Zuki was turned into a doll, which is good news to some extent. This shows that Zuki just broke the rules here and may not be beyond salvation. Let's look around to see if there is a way to turn the doll back into a human. /U003EOK. After a group of people walked into the wooden house, they found that this wooden house was not a local building in the underground palace, but a Jinka building, because there were many high-tech products inside, such as televisions, central air conditioning, and so on. That the house was not only messy, but also mixed with a special smell of cologne, which was very unpleasant. Ding Yuan opened the window and let the air out for a long time before the smell disappeared. "What are you reading?" Qin Lang looked at Chen Zhu, who was holding a thick book in her hand and reading it carefully. "This is a diary written by one of them, in English. Let me see it." Qin Lang took the book. "This is indeed a diary, recording their experiences after entering the underground palace, and the recorder is a scholar in this team." Qin Lang carefully flipped through the book and spent 2 hours to finish reading the notes. He smiled and said, "Kingsu, if what is recorded in this book is true, then your sister is saved." "What does it say?" "It says that anyone who breaks the rules will be turned into a doll, and if you want to turn the doll back into a human, the method is actually very simple. That is, find the altar and sacrifice the monster's heart to the ghost woman." Qin Lang pointed to one of the lines of text and said, "However, the monster's strength far exceeded our imagination. In order to restore the boss to human form, we forcibly attacked the monster, but not only did we fail to attack it, but we also lost 13 people. There were more than 100 people when we came in, and now there are only a dozen of us. Alas, I really want to go home." According to the book, the monster's habitat is in the west and the altar is in the north. It's getting late now. Let's rest here for a night and set off tomorrow morning. First, kill the monster, and then go directly to the altar. Zhao Qingsu looked at the dim sky outside and could only nod in agreement. In the evening, the forest was quiet and silent, which seemed particularly strange. Fortunately, the power supply system of the wooden house was intact, and the house was as bright as day, which more or less dispelled some of the fear of being in an unknown world. Old Lee took a puff of cigarette and exhaled heavily. Seeing this, Qin Lang couldn't help but joked, "Old Lee, you really should look in the mirror to see what you look like now. You have become a little baby, but you are still addicted to smoking." Old Lee laughed. "Smoking is a way to relieve stress. It has nothing to do with whether my body is big or small. Do you want to have one?" "Forget it. I don't want to smoke now." Qin Lang waved his hand to refuse and got back to the point. "The third rule of the underground palace is that you need to hide at night. This means that there may be some creatures attacking here at night. Tonight, 2 people will be on guard in a group. Zhao Qingsu and I will form a team. The rest of us will form our own teams. Those of us who are not on duty will take the time to rest. We have seen so many storms, but we must not overturn in this underground palace. Everyone took it seriously and fell asleep one after another after dinner. The first shift was Qin Lang and Zhao Qingsu. Qin Lang sat leisurely on the rattan chair with Zhao Hei in his arms and Quzhe squatting at his feet. He didn't feel lonely at all. Zhao Qingsu sat at the door with her hands holding her curled legs, her eyes empty, and I don't know what she was thinking. Qin Lang was not in the mood to talk, so the two of them remained silent until they were about to change shifts. I once advised Zuki not to take risks in such a strange place, but she refused to listen. Zhao Qingsu suddenly said, she said that she had to become stronger so that you could look at her in the eye instead of just treating her as a bed partner. Chapter 121 The Power of Teamwork. Qin Lang turned his head silently, with a touch of sarcasm appearing on the corner of his mouth. Are you saying this to impress me? If you ask me, your sisters might as well be my bed partners. At least you won't cause me trouble. Zhao Qingsu blushed. I hate people who don't know their own abilities. Why do you think we are here? Qin Lang snorted coldly. If you want to join my team, just do your job honestly and stop doing these messy little tricks. It's almost time. Go ask Leoli and the others to come and change the guard. Oh. Zhao Qingsu stood up silently. The night passed and nothing happened. After breakfast, Qin Lang took everyone to the monster habitat. The description of the monsters by the scholar in Hewa's team was very simple. He only said that they were a group of unkillable monsters, maybe related to some kind of rules, and there was no other record. Obviously, he had not thought of a way to defeat the monsters. An hour later, the 8 people successfully arrived at the monster habitat. It was a pool with a beautiful scenery around it, like a fairy tale world. If it weren't for the large number of deformed monsters squatting on the huge lotus leaves that ruined the beauty, the scenery here would be called first class. This toad is really impressive. Oldly clicked his tongue. It doesn't look very good. Shall I try? Zhu Yun took the initiative to challenge. Qin Lang nodded. Ding Yuan, go with Lao Zhu. Just test him out. If you can't beat him, just run away. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Zhu Yun moved his hands and feet, took off his short legs, and ran towards the pool. During the run, he and Ding Yuan both transformed. Boo. The toad-shaped monster on the lotus leaf had sharp senses, and after noticing the enemy attack, they all turned their heads and looked over. Ouch. The little milk bear came to the shore and slapped the ground hard to provoke. The toad monster cooed a few times and rushed towards the shore at the same time. Their strong and powerful hind legs gave them amazing jumping ability. They could jump 7 or 8 meters in one jump. The two ups and downs rushed to the little milk bear and the little lizard man. Murderous vines. The little milk bear slapped his right palm, and large vines emerged from the void, immediately wrapping around those toad monsters that were about the size of a casserole. As the vines tightened, the toad monsters let out bursts of screams, and without exception they were strangled to death. Turn into pieces. That's right, they don't have bodies, but mere fragments. Brother Qin, look. Sun Yan raised his hand and pointed, and the toad monsters condensed on the originally empty lotus leaf. They were exactly the same as before. They roared and rushed forward. Zhu Yun, and every time Ding Yuan kills a batch, new monsters will appear the next moment. There is something wrong with this pool. But Qin Lang pinched his eyebrows and told him to fight, but solving puzzles was really not his strong point. Sun Yan clapped her hands and said, I'm just telling you why these lotus leaves look so strange. Brother, look, do they look like puzzle pieces? Puzzle? Qin Lang looked intently, and sure enough, those seemingly odd-shaped lotus leaves were actually puzzle pieces scattered around. Smart. You are worthy of being a top student. Qin Lang was overjoyed and rubbed Sun Yan's head vigorously. Xiaoxu, you go to help Lao Zhu and the others, and I will solve the puzzle. Yanzi, you will direct, and tell me which picture corresponds to which picture. Okay, give me some time and let me take a closer look. Sun Yan climbed onto a nearby tree and sketched the lotus leaves in the pool from a high position. Boo. Perhaps. After discovering that the secret was exposed, some of the monsters in the pool jumped towards Qin Lang. Damn thing, this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter. To continue reading chapter 121, The Power of Team. If you weren't so ugly, I would have had to use you as a sideshow. Laoli cursed and smashed rocks. Each rock was like a cannonball. The toad monsters were hit so hard that they couldn't take care of themselves. Even if a few of them rushed to the shore by chance, they were crushed by Zhao Qingsu with an ice pick. 10 minutes later, Sun Yan threw the drawing book to Qin Lang. Brother Qin, I have already marked it. Just press the button above to move the puzzle. Qin Lang lowered his head and read the storybook. His head was buzzing. It wasn't that Sun Yan's painting skills were not good. It was just that there were too many lines, which made him dizzy. Let me help you, Lin. Wana took the drawing book and directed. Lower left at 7 o'clock, upper right at 1 o'clock. This is much easier, Qin Lang used his air control skills and pieced together the lotus leaf puzzle pieces one by one according to Lin Wana's instructions. This process lasted less than 10 minutes. When the last piece of the puzzle was successfully assembled, all the toad monsters that attacked everyone screamed and turned into fragments and rushed towards the middle part of the complete puzzle. Gua. The next moment, a giant toad that was 7 or 8 meters high appeared in the middle. It roared and rushed in the direction of Zhu Yan, Ding Yuan, and Chen Zhu, like a mountain falling down. Murderous vines. Touch of darkness. Ice prison. Zhu Yan, Qin Lang, and Zhao Qingsu took action at the same time, forcing the giant toad to be held in midair without moving. Use long-range skills to hit it. Remember not to use weapons. Qin Lang hurriedly promoted that it is easy for people to forget the rules in such a tense moment. Lin Wana hurriedly let go of her hand, and she almost took out the timber wolf. The process of killing the giant toad can be said to be smooth and safe, and the whole process was the turn of the 8-man team. It's not that the giant toad is weak, but the team built by Qin Lang is too versatile, with no shortage of damage resistance, field control, output, gain, and debuff. It took only a few minutes for everyone to work together to blow up the giant toad. Oh, a big deal? Qin Lang's eyes lit up, and Zhao Hei ran back with a dark gold card in his mouth. He opened the card and saw that this was the second dark gold team glory. If there is another one, he can upgrade the card, which can not only increase the number of team members, but also perhaps have more functions. This thing should be the heart. Qin Lang tore open the body of the giant toad and found the big black heart in a foul smell. At this time, the heart was still beating, making a strong sound of bang bang bang. Take a break. Let's go to the altar. Although this battle was smooth and safe, it consumed a lot of physical strength. After resting for more than an hour, everyone set out and headed for the altar. On the way, everyone encountered some strange monsters, which were easily crushed by Laoli and Zhu Yan without Qin Lang's help. A few hours later, is this the altar? Qin Lang looked at the towering square building not far away. 2 rows of torches extended from 100 meters away to the square building. As everyone walked by, the torches lit up one after another. Be careful. Qin Lang held the black heart and walked up the steps carefully. On the other side of the altar, the ghost woman was sitting on the ground with a cane. Seeing Qin Lang and his group coming, it waved its cane and signaled Qin Lang to throw the heart into the brazier. The moment Qin Lang threw the heart into the brazier, many 3-dimensional figures appeared in his mind. There was a corresponding doll under each person, and there was a number 03 in the lower right corner. It means that one heart can save 3 people. Chapter 122, Hunting Alone. What if there are more than 3 people turned into dolls? Qin Lang asked. The ghost woman can obviously understand human language. When she heard it, she opened her crescent-shaped mouth, opened her right hand, and condensed a scroll. But just when Qin Lang was about to reach out to pick it up, the ghost woman snorted a few times impatiently. Oh, let me save people first. Qin Lang smiled and checked Zhaozuki and the other 2 men standing with her. These faces were somewhat familiar and they were people from the shelter. As soon as Qin Lang finished the operation, the ghost woman threw out 3 dolls, and the dolls turned into human shapes after landing. Zuki. Zhao Qingsu rushed over in a hurry. Sister? Sister, why are you here? Qin Lang is also here. Huh? Zhaozuki looked around blankly, and when she found the hag behind her, she screamed in fright. It's a long story. Just hope you're fine. Zhao Qingsu quickly comforted her. Qin Lang ignored the 2 sisters and took the scroll from the ghost woman's hand. Just as he was about to ask something more, the ghost woman's figure turned into fragments and disappeared, along with the sharp and harsh laughter. The sound was extremely unpleasant, but Qin Lang felt happy from the laughter. The words on this scroll. Qin Lang unfolded the scroll and glanced at it and found that the contents on the scroll were all garbled. He could only recognize 5 or 6 words out of 100. It seems that we need to upgrade the text researcher to 2 more levels, otherwise we won't even be able to decipher the message. Qin Lang thought for a moment and decided to leave temporarily. This trip to the underground palace has already made a lot of money, including a secret gold and a color card, and the person has been rescued. It is a double happiness, and there is no need to take risks again. If you want to survive in the last days, you can't be too stubborn or too reckless on the way back. Everyone did not encounter any attacks and returned to the entrance smoothly. Zhu Yun looked at the mirrored entrance that was 1 person tall in front of him and suddenly said, "If we can find the entrance of those black people before, can we proceed? Teleport over long distances and reach their country?" Qin Lang raised his lips and said, "Your idea is very interesting. When I figure out the words on this scroll, we can study it carefully. Let's go." Qin Lang and his party entered the mirror. There was still a brief dizziness. After more than 10 seconds, Qin Lang and his party returned to the entrance of the underground palace, and their bodies returned to their original appearance. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been so reckless." Zhaozuki lowered her head and apologized. "Forget it this time. Don't let it happen again." Qin Lang was in a good mood, so he naturally wouldn't care too much about Zhaozuki. "The only thing we have to do next is to collect text researchers and related cards to understand the meaning of the scroll. Zhao Qingsu, find a time to divide the combat effective people in the shelter into groups and let them go hunting." These 6. How can a shelter of 7,000 people be supported by an underground plantation? I've wanted to say this for a long time. Zhao Qingsu hurriedly handed a document to Qin Lang. "This is my idea and decree. Can you see if it is feasible? If there is anything that is not well thought out, I will revise it immediately. If you put it forward, you are the queen of IV. Don't ask me when making decisions. If you insist on asking me to give you my opinion is simple. The strong will be respected." Qin Lang didn't accept the document, and he wasn't stupid. How could he really participate in the construction of Changteng shelter? As far as he is concerned, even if everyone in Longvine Sanctuary dies, he won't blink an eye. You must know that this is the early stage of the end of the world when human life is as fragile as a candle in the wind. If you really want to establish a political power, you will have to wait until later. This chapter is not finished. Click the next chapter to continue reading chapter 122. Going hunting alone only when everything is stable. Anyway, in his previous life, Qin Lang had never heard of any strong man who successfully established a political power and even managed to create a city of 100,000 people. After returning to the mobile fortress and resting for a day, Qin Lang took Zhao Hei and Quzhe out for hunting. Laoli and his party were not idle either. They each found their own positions in the Longvine Sanctuary and took Wu with him every day. A large group of people go hunting nearby monsters to increase their strength. Time flies, and half a month has passed in a flash. Boom. The 3-meter tall Big Mac was hit in the head by an arrow, and the ground shook as soon as the body fell. Qin Lang took back the dawn and walked leisurely towards Big Mac's body. After half a month of almost sleepless hunting, Qin Lang's combat power has reached 25. Facing this kind of monster with a combat power of 1, he can kill it instantly without any pressure. Oh, I'm so lucky. There's another lottery card. Is this the 3rd one today? Qin Lang happily pocketed the color cards. Since he has been hunting large monsters, a stable number of high-end cards are entered into his account every day. If you kill another 10,000 battles monster today, take a rest and let me know where the nearest one is. Qin Lang turned on the colorful card monster radar hanging around his neck. As the ripples spread, a monster with 15 combat power appeared 10 kilometers away and was moving slowly. Boarding. Qin Lang patted the car seat, and Zhao Hei and Quzhe ran back immediately. The motorcycle spewed out a large cloud of black mist and disappeared at the end of the road. 10 kilometers away. Run. Run. Dozens of men and women were running for their lives, and behind them a 4-legged creature was chasing them. This creature looked very much like the Zerg in ancient movies. It has a pair of indestructible slender claws and an indestructible black body. Rocket launchers can only cause minor damage to it, not to mention those cold weapons. A woman fell while running for her life. Before her companions could pull her up, the insect jumped behind her, chopped her down with its claws, and skewered her like a skewer, and held her high. The woman was not dead yet, and a lot of blood spurted out of her mouth. The woman was not dead yet, and a lot of blood spurted out of her mouth. Next second, the insect threw her into its mouth, and swallowed her alive. Damn you dead bug. I'm going to fight you. A dark-skinned man in the team watched the woman he secretly loved being swallowed alive. His eyes turned red, and he picked up the machine gun, and pulled the trigger regardless of anything. Ding ding. Ding ding. Ding ding. The bullets hit the monster, and were all bounced off, leaving no trace. Fuck you. The man saw that the machine gun was useless, so he drew out the sword from his waist and roared. The flames immediately covered his body, and he jumped up and chopped the insect with both hands. Puff. The chalicery easily pierced his chest, and the man's figure was suspended in the air. Ugh. The next moment the man spit out blood, his body lost weight, and was thrown into the monster's mouth. The deputy captain is dead. The combat power of this monster is definitely more than 15. Someone saw the miserable state of the deputy captain and screamed point. They all knew that the deputy captain's combat power was 0, and ordinary monsters were no match for him. It's already this time. Don't worry about it. Save your life. Captain Maramo shouted, seeing the retreat vehicle just in front of him. The ground suddenly exploded, and 2 identical insects drilled out, completely blocking everyone's way. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, Sunfire Shelter. The lake had long dried up when we built the shelter here. This was all seawater brought from other places by the boss. Oh, is this seawater? Qin Lang squinted his eyes and observed carefully, and soon saw a group of dolphins in the lake. Just outrageous. Captain Ma is back. Open the pontoon quickly. Amid a burst of shouting, the 3-meter wide and 100-meter long pontoon floated up from the bottom of the water. Cavalry, why did you come back alone? Where are they? Asked a young man in his early 20s. All dead. Maramo lowered his voice. How is that possible? Even the deputy team. The young man exclaimed. We have encountered a new monster. It is a big insect that is invulnerable. Is the boss here? Maramo obviously didn't want to explain too much to this young man. The boss has led the team out for 3 days. I just contacted the headquarters and won't be back until tonight at the earliest. After the young man finished speaking, he glanced at Qin Lang and said, This is Qin Lang, you are my savior. Let's go in and talk. Mamo obviously had a high status in the shelter, and everyone who met him along the way bowed respectfully. The boss won't be back until night. I'm physically exhausted and need some time to rest. Otherwise, I'll ask Zyoli to accompany you for a walk in the shelter. When the boss comes back in the evening, we can talk about the reward. Maramo hesitated and said, No problem, Qin Lang waved his hand. I'll just go shopping by myself. But, Mo left in a hurry. The young man called Zyoli was in a very depressed mood. Apparently his relatives and friends were among the members of the team that were wiped out. Smoke a cigarette? Qin Lang handed over a cigarette. Zyoli was stunned for a moment, then reluctantly smiled and took it. Thank you. Tell me about your shelter. Who is your boss? Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not spying for information. I'm just a wanderer who happened to meet Captain Ma. Qin Lang's posture is very low. When facing someone who has no conflict of interest, Qin Lang will choose to act stupid most of the time. Zyoli smiled and said, There's nothing I can't say, but I'm more interested in your experience, Brother Qin. How did you survive alone? How much combat power do you have? Do you mind if I sweep you? Scan as you like, it doesn't matter. Qin Lang laughed. The other side. Maremo walked into a 3-story building. In the main control room on the top floor, he connected with the boss. "Boss, I'm back. Else is dead." "What happened?" A woman's voice came from the other end of the earphone. "That's right. We encountered a new monster while hunting. It was a kind of bug." Maremo told the whole story and didn't even hide the fact that he sacrificed dozens of teammates in order to survive. "So, that's it. You don't have to blame yourself. I'm very happy that you can survive. Even if you don't kill other people, they will be killed by bugs. Why are you so anxious to contact me?" "I brought back a man. His name is Qin Language. His combat power is not high, but his weapon level is very high, and he can kill bugs instantly. I suspect it is a dark gold card. I tricked him into our shelter." "Oh, dark gold weapon holder? Are you sure?" "I'm not 100% sure, but I trust my judgment. I have about 6 hours to get back to the shelter. I need to stabilize him before I go back. There is no weakling who dares to go hunting alone." Yes. Chapter 124. The Queen's Team. Isn't it true? You dare to hunt alone with a fighting power of just over 10,000? After scanning Qin Lang's combat effectiveness, Xiaoli's eyes widened with an expression of disbelief. Qin Lang chuckled. "Look at what you said. Is Wanzhen weak? Weakness is definitely not weak. Captain Ma has just broken through Wanzhen recently. Your combat power can at least rank among the top 10 in our shelter. But when facing hordes of monsters, Wanzhen can only do that. Do you think you are not only powerful, but also very courageous, so you are not afraid of meeting bad people?" Xiaoli looks like he is in his early 20s, but is actually only 17 years old. He just seems to have not experienced much, and speaks relatively simply. Qin Lang couldn't figure out how a simple boy like Xiaoli could survive until now in this cruel apocalypse. Qin Lang said happily, "Who dares to go to Liangshan without twas and threes? I naturally have my trump card." "Well, I have answered all your questions. Should you also answer my question? Who is your boss?" "Hey, I knew you were interested in the boss. Our boss is a godlike figure. Did you see the artificial lake outside? It was all made by the boss himself." "Oh. How did she do it?" "She can't tell you this. You'll know when you see her." Xiaoli chuckled. "Okay, forget it. Let's drink tea and change the topic." Several hours passed. Mr. Qin Mo pushed the door open and came in, smiling and saying, "I've been looking for you for a long time. I was here drinking tea and chatting. The boss is back, and she wants to see you." Qin Lang nodded and stood up. "Okay." Qin Lang immediately stood up and followed Maremo to the meeting hall. Arriving at the door of the meeting hall, Maremo smiled and said, "Mr. Qin, although you saved my life, we have rules in our asylum. You must remove your weapons before meeting the boss. You see?" Qin Lang raised his eyebrows. "If this is the case, if so, then I might as well disappear. This is the end of the world. If I hand over my weapons and you fall out, I won't even have the ability to resist." "Look at what you said. How could I take action against my benefactor?" Maremo shook his head repeatedly and said firmly, "I still have this bottom line as a human being." "Oh, you tell me the bottom line of being a human being, right?" Qin Lang showed a strange smile. "I saved you, but you focused on my weapon. Isn't this considered repaying kindness with hatred?" What?" Maremo was stunned for a moment. "What do you mean?" Qin Lang spread his hands and simply showed his cards. "I'm used to being cautious, so when you weren't paying attention, I planted an eavesdropping mushroom on you. I heard the conversation between you and the boss." Maremo's expression changed. "Eavesdropping mushroom? Where?" Maremo groped around for a long time, and sure enough, he found a small earphone-shaped mushroom on the back of his collar. "In order to keep myself alive, I killed my teammates. In order to get my weapons, I didn't hesitate to trick me into your shelter. You still have to lick your face and talk to me about the bottom line and humanity." Qin Lang flicked his fingers. You still want to be embarrassed?" Maremo's face turned blue and white. He didn't expect that his dirty deeds would be exposed in Qin Lang's eyes. "Okay, those of you in the room, please stop pretending and come out." Squeak. The door to the meeting hall opened. One woman and 3 men walked out slowly. The woman guarded in the middle is in her 30s, plump and wearing a blue royalty shirt. This chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 124. Hey How's team crown, holding a sapphire scepter, and even the long dress on her body is blue. The three men were dressed differently, and one was dressed as a ninja, with only one eye exposed. One is a strong man carrying a giant axe, with his chest exposed, and the other is holding a white paper fan, and wearing a sapphire blue satin boy's uniform, dressed like an ancient scholar. Princess, ninja, barbarian, scholar. There are too many flaws in this combination, and it's almost impossible to match it. Boss, ma. Emo hurriedly came to the side of the four-person team. The princess smiled lightly. Since you have exposed the conspiracy, I'm too lazy to pretend. Hand over the weapon that can kill the Zerg instantly, and I can consider letting you live. Boss is already very kind. I advise you not to drink wine as a penalty. The scholar shook his white paper fan and said with a smile, "What's that look in your eyes? Don't you think that you, a little one Zan, can't be worthy of you? Can dark gold weapons pose a threat to us? We, the Queen of the Sea, also have dark gold weapons." It turns out that the boss of Sunan Sanctuary is nicknamed Hey How. Hand over your weapons and get out. The barbarian roared. What? If I refuse? Qin Lang smiled. Rejection will only lead to death. I have given you the greatest grace. Why are you so ignorant? I only want your weapons, not your life. The corner of Hey How's mouth raised slightly. Or, you are pretending on purpose? Pretending to be indifferent. You want to win my admiration and join my team. Hey How looked at Qin Lang carefully and became more and more determined in his thoughts. He smiled brightly and said, I have to say, I really like your appearance, and I also like your hard to get attitude. Let's do this. Hand over the weapon, and I will give you a chance to please me. As long as you satisfy me, I can consider letting you join the shelter as a captain. Hey, how long are you going to talk to yourself? I don't even want this kind of stuff given to me for free. Qin Lang really couldn't listen anymore. After so many years in the apocalypse, what kind of person has he not seen? Cruel, perverted, and mentally twisted. This was the first time he had seen someone as self-righteous as Hey How. I'll crush you guys to death as easily as I crush an insect. Who gave you the courage to throw your claws at me? Boss, this kid doesn't seem to understand the situation yet. Why don't you just stop nagging him? Wouldn't it be nice to cripple him and send him to your bed? The scholar said with a smile, not taking Qin Lang seriously at all. Hey How nodded. That's all we have to do. Ah man, I'll leave this kid to you. Just cripple him. Don't let me kill him. Don't worry, boss. Ah. Man waved his giant axe with an excited expression on his face. I will break his limbs and send him to your boudoir. Boy, are you ready? Qin Lang had a calm expression, but he was murmuring in his heart. The opponent knew that he had a dark gold weapon with terrifying attack power, so why was he still so confident? Unless Qin Lang thought of a possibility. Among these people, there must be someone who has skills such as disarming or sealing. Otherwise it would be impossible to be so arrogant. Try out your trump cards first and then talk. Qin Lang thought of this and took out a colorful star bow. Ha 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 ha. Showing your trump card when you come up. Now, it's mine. The scholar laughed wildly, and he did not know what action he made. The next second, Qin Lang felt that his hand was empty. The star bow was inexplicably replaced by a white paper fan, and the star bow was caught in the scholar's hand. Qin Lang was stunned. What kind of skill do you have? Chapter 125. One-sided crushing. This is not because Qin Lang is deliberately pretending to be surprised, but he is really surprised by this skill. If anyone in the team masters this skill, it will be a surefire way to control the field. The scholar was proud of himself, patted the star bow and said, you are already about to die anyway, so it doesn't hurt to tell you. This skill is called changing hands. As the name suggests, I can exchange the weapon in my hand with the enemies. Now, the trump card has been transferred to me. What else can you use to fight with us? Ha 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 ha. This kid can only say that he is very lucky to be alive now. If he had met us earlier, he would have died a long time ago. Ha 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 ha. Ah. Man laughed wildly, and Heihao split her scarlet lips and trembled with laughter. Your good luck ends here. Ah man, come on, coming. Ah. Man brandished his axe, jumped up, and brought up a violent whirlwind point like Laoli. He is a barbarian at core. The difference is that Laoli is better at long range throwing, while Ammon is good at close combat. Seeing that our man was close at hand, Qin Lang remained motionless, giving people the feeling of being frightened. Heihao chuckled. Don't kill me. No. The words fell. Our man's giant axe had fallen. Just when everyone thought Qin Lang would be chopped away, something unexpected happened. Dozens of black tentacles tied up our man, leaving his body hanging on the ground, unable to move in midair. Hey, this is Druid's skill. Vine. Hey. Hao had some knowledge, but not much, and mistook Qin Lang's skills for something else. The ninjas in the team frowned. As they flipped their palms, more than a dozen boomerangs hit the tentacles with a whizzing sound, but without exception they were bounced away. No, it's not a vine. It has a very high defense, and hidden weapons cannot break its defense. The ninja pulled out his short sword and arched his body. Capture the thief first. Capture the king first. After saying that, the ninja roared and attacked Qin Lang. Qin Lang showed a hint of contempt at the corner of his mouth with a glaring smile. The dark tentacles wrapped around Ammon and threw them towards the ninja. Ah, boom, there was a loud bang. Ammon, a muscular man with strong muscles, had a close contact with the ground. His whole head exploded, leaving only an empty cavity that was continuously spurting out blood. It could be said that he died inexplicably. Qin Lang looked at the horrified expressions of several people and said, why are you hiding? If you don't hide, he will be seriously injured at most and will not die at all. You. The ninja was a little angry. At this time, Heihao finally realized the seriousness of the matter. Your combat power is definitely more than 10,000. Are you hiding it? Qin Lang shrugged. Yes, it does hide hundreds of millions of points of combat power. I hunted a few days ago and got a few low-key talents. Snort. Heihao took a step forward and waved his staff. I originally wanted to let you live, but you killed Ammon. Now no one in heaven or on earth can save you. You are dead. A powerful aura came from Heihao's body, and it was obvious that she was planning some killer move. The corners of Qin Lang's mouth turned up slightly. Why do you think I will let you succeed? Look at me. Heihao frowned, and when he looked into Qin Lang's eyes, his brain felt a sharp pain. Oh no. Mental attack. A splendid nightclub. Heihao looked around blankly, seeing several pot-bellied bosses hugging each other and drinking. Why are I here? Filia Chen patted the paste like this chapter is not finished yet. Click on the next chapter to continue reading chapter 125. Unilateral crush brain. Isn't it already the end of the world? Why did you appear in the nightclub? Could it be that there is no apocalypse at all and everything is just a dream? Are you still the headliner in a celebrity nightclub? Fifi, what are you doing standing still? Hurry up and toast the boss. The female companion on the side urged. Filia Chen hurriedly raised her glass. Boss, I'd like to propose a toast to you, and I'll do it first as a token of respect. While pushing cups and changing cups, men and women put their arms around each other, and the atmosphere was ambiguous. After 3 rounds of drinking, the slightly drunk Filia Chen was hugged by the fat boss and entered the hotel room. The moment she opened the door and saw a dozen men wearing masks and holding various props in their hands, Filia Chen suddenly sobered up. She screamed in fear and struggled to escape, but her body was so soft that she couldn't run at all. One of the masked men shouted angrily, Filia Chen, you bitch. My boss loves you so much, but you defrauded my boss of all his money, ruined his family, and committed suicide by jumping off a bridge on New Year's Eve. If I were to die today, if I don't try to cripple you, I'll take your surname. No, don't. Let me go. I won't dare to do it again. If you want money, I'll give it to you. Filia Chen's hands and feet were bound inexplicably, and no matter how much she screamed and cried, the masked man turned a blind eye. Brothers, stand up and kick for me. Ha 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 ha. It's necessary. There is only one goal today, to cripple this damn liar. Ha 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 ha. No, help. Filia Chen began to experience a long and painful nightmare, but only a few seconds passed in the real world. Heihao's body trembled violently, and she fell to the ground like a puddle of mud. The scholar, the ninja and Ma Maoan didn't know what happened. It seems that Heihao just looked at Qin Lang, and the consequences were so serious. Boss, wake up, boss. It's no use. Qin Lang flicked his fingers. There are only two ways to relieve the deep nightmare. Either I take the initiative to relieve it, or one of you has higher mental power than me. Now, it's your turn. Qin Lang raised his arm, and the flying sword Yangren brought a long firetail and slashed towards the ninja. The ninja felt the power contained in the flying sword and turned around to run. However, his speed was slowed down a beat, and he was penetrated by the flying sword and died on the spot. Woo. The flying sword Yangren circled in midair and slashed at the scholar. Don't kill me. The scholar suddenly wailed and fell to his knees. Brother, I know I was wrong. I'm just a field controller. I don't have any attack ability. Everything was done by the Queen of the Sea. The flying sword paused when it reached the scholar's neck. Qin Lang thought for a moment. Changing hands is a very good field control skill. Maybe he can use it to do something. Qin Maremo also wanted to beg for mercy when he saw this, but Qin Lang didn't give him a chance and chopped off his head directly. But Qin Lang turned his palm, and a mirror immediately appeared beside him, which was a panel mirror. He caught Heihao, who had lost her ability to resist, in front of a mirror, and stored all her skills in the mirror. Generally speaking, the skills of the Queen of the Sea are very scientific. The core card is a dark gold Poseidon, and there are 5 other color cards, and the others are gold and silver cards. To store dark gold cards, you actually need to use 5 colored cards. You might as well just kill them and use them as fertilizer. Qin Lang said this, hesitating for a long time, and finally reluctantly stored the dark gold card. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.